Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Good morning, and thank you all for being here today. To open this event, we will have Burlington Gurdwara Kasa Darbar's Gyani, Gurjeet Singh Ji, recite a Sikh prayer called Ardas before the event. Gyani Gurjeet Singh Ji, Kasa Darbar Burlington Gurdware, ਹੁਣ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਨਗੇ। ਮੈਂ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਟੇਜ ਤੇ ਆ ਜਾਓ ਤੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ। And I please request everybody to please rise from their seats.
तुद आगे अरदास हमारी, जियो पिंड सब तेरा, कहो नानक सब तेरी वड्याई, नाऊ न जान मेरा। बोलना जी वाहिगुरु वाहिगुरु। अरदास एक ओंकार श्री वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। पातशाही दसवीं वार श्री भगवती जी की भगवती जी सहाय। प्रथम भगवती सिमर कै गुरु नानक लई ध्याए। फिर अंगद गुर ते अमरदास रामदास होई सहाय। अर्जुन हर गोबिंद नौ सिमरों श्री हर राय। श्री हर कृष्ण ध्याईऐ जिस डिठै सब दुख जाय। तेग बहादुर सिमरै घर नौ निध आवै धाए। सब थाई होए सहाय। दसवें पातशाह गुरु गोबिंद सिंह, सब थाई होए सहाय। दसां पातशाहियां दी जोत, श्री गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब जी दे। पाठ दीदार दा ध्यान तर बोलो जी। पंजां प्यारियां चौं साहिब जादियां, 40 मुक्तियां, हठियां जपियां तपियां, जिन्हां नाम जपिया वंड के छकिया। देग चलाई तेग वाही, देख के अनडिठ कीता। तिन्हां प्यारियां सचियारियां दी कमाई दा ध्यान तर बोलो जी। जिन्हां ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਸਿੰਘਣੀਆਂ धर्म हेत सीस दिते। बंद बंद कटाए खोपरियां लोहाइयां। चरखियां ते चढ़े आरियां नाल चुराए गए। गुरुद्वारियां दी सेवा लई कुर्बानियां कीतियां। धर्म नहीं हारिया सिੱਖੀ केसां सुवासां नाल निभाई। तिन्हां दी कमाई दा ध्यान तर बोलो जी। पंजां तख्तां सरबत गुरुद्वारियां दा ध्यान तर बोलो जी। प्रथम सरबत खालसा जी की अरदास है जी। सरबत खालसा जी को वाहेगुरु 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 चेते आवे। चेते आवन का सदका सर्ब सुख होवे। जहाँ जहाँ खालसा जी साहिब, तहाँ तहाँ रशिया रियायत। देग तेग फतेह बिरद की पैज। पंथ की जीत श्री साहिब जी सहाय। खालसा जी के बोल बाले बोलो जी। सिखां नूं सिखी दान, केस दान, रहत दान, बबेक दान, विसाह दान, भरोसा दान, दाना सिर दान, नाम दान। श्री अमृतसर साहिब जी दे दर्शन इशनान। चौंकियां झंडे बुंगे जुगो जुग अटल। ਧਰਮ ਕਾ ਜੈਕਾਰ ਬੋਲੋ ਜੀ। ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦਾ ਮਨ ਨੀਵਾ ਮਤ ਉੱਚੀ, ਮਤ ਦਾ ਰਾਖਾ ਆਪ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ। ਹੇ ਅਕਾਲ ਪੁਰਖ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੰਥ ਦੇ, ਸਦਾ ਸਹਾਈ ਦਾਤਾਰ ਜੀਓ। ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਨਨਕਾਣਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ ਗੁਰਧਾਮਾਂ ਦੇ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਪੰਥ ਨੂੰ ਵਿਛੋੜਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ, ਖੁੱਲੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਦੀਦਾਰ। ਸੇਵਾ ਸੰਭਾਲ ਦਾ ਦਾਨ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਬਖਸ਼ੋ। ਹੇ ਨਿਮਾਣਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਮਾਣ, ਨਿਤਾਣਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਤਾਣ, ਨਿਉਟਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਓਟ, ਸੱਚੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀਓ। ਜੁਗੋਂ ਜੁਗ ਅਟਲ, ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ। ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਚਰਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਮਰਨ ਮੁਨਸਾ ਸੂਰਿਆਂ ਹੱਕ ਹੈ, ਜੋ ਹੋਏ ਮਰਨ ਪਰਵਾਣੋ। ਸੂਰੇ ਸੇਈ ਆਗੈ ਆਖੀਐ, ਦਰਗਹਿ ਪਾਵੈ ਸਾਚੀ ਮਾਣੋ। ਸੂਰਾ ਸੋ ਪਹਿਚਾਨੀਐ, ਜੋ ਲਰੈ ਦੀਨ ਕੇ ਹੇਤ। ਪੁਰਜਾ ਪੁਰਜਾ ਕਟ ਮਰੈ, ਕਬਹੂ ਨਾ ਛਾਡੈ ਖੇਤ ਦੇ ਮਹਾਵਾਕੁਨਸਾਰ। ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਦਰ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਮਹਾਨ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਭਾਈ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਖਾਲੜਾ, ਜੋ 25,000 ਲਵਾਰਸ ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਾਰਸ ਬਣਦਿਆਂ ਪੈਰਾਵਾਈ ਕਰਦਿਆਂ ਜ਼ਾਲਮ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸਹਿ ਅਤੇ ਅਕਹਿ ਕਸ਼ਟ ਸਹਾਰਦਿਆਂ ਹੋਇਆਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਾ ਜਾਮ ਪੀ ਗਏ ਹਨ। ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ 30 ਸਾਲਾ ਬਰਸੀ ਦੇ ਸਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਯੂਨੀਫਾਈ ਹਿਊਮੈਨਿਟੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀ, ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਬੱਚੇ ਬੱਚੀਆਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਭਾਈ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਜੀ ਦੀ 30 ਸਾਲਾ ਬਰਸੀ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਗਮ ਆਰੰਭ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਬੇਨਤੀ। ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰੋ, ਆਗਿਆ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰੋ। ਸਮੂਹ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਬੁਲਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ ਮਿਹਰ ਭਰਿਆ ਹੱਥ ਰੱਖਣਾ। ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਾਰਜਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਹੱਕ ਸੱਚ ਇਨਸਾਫ ਦੀ ਲੜਾਈ ਲੜਦਿਆਂ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਭਾਈ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਾ ਜਾਮ ਪੀਤਾ, ਕੌਮ ਨੂੰ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਮਿਹਰਾਮਤ ਕਰਨੀ, ਆਪਣੇ ਨਿਰਾਲੇ ਪੰਥ ਨੂੰ ਕੌਮੀ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਦਾਤ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨੀ। ਇਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਸਮੂਹ ਪੰਥਕ ਧਿਰਾਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਸੀ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਇਤਫਾਕ ਦੀ ਦਾਤ ਬਖਸ਼ਣੀ। ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਮਿਹਰਾਮਤ ਕਰਨੀ। ਹਉ ਤੈਸੈ ਘੋਲ ਕਮਾਇਆ, ਗੁਰਮਤਿ ਹਿਰਦੈ ਗਰੀਬੀ ਆਵੈ ਦੇ ਮਹਾਵਾਕ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ। ਸਮੂਹ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਪੰਥ ਨੂੰ ਹਿਰਦੇ ਦੀ ਗਰੀਬੀ ਨਿਮਰਤਾ ਦੀ ਦਾਤ ਬਖਸ਼ਣੀ। ਕੌਮੀ ਕਾਰਜਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਰਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਕਾਰਜ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੇਰਨਾ ਉਦਮ ਉਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨਾ। ਸੇਈ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਮੇਲ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਚੇਤੇ ਆਵੇ। ਨਾਨਕ ਨਾਮ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਤੇਰੇ ਭਾਣੇ ਸਰਬੱਤ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਦੋਹਰਾ ਆਗਿਆ ਭਈ ਅਕਾਲ ਕੀ, ਸਭ ਸਿੱਖਨ ਕੋ ਹੁਕਮ ਹੈ। ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਜੀ ਮਾਨਿਓ, जो प्रभ को मिल बोच है, राज करेगा खालसा, ख्वार हुए सब मिलेंगे, ख्वार हुए सब मिलेंगे, बोले सो निहाल श्री अकाल, बोले सो निहाल। सत श्री बोले सो निहाल श्री अकाल। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह।
To honor Gyani ji and all the rest of our speakers for today, we are honoring them with a book called The Valiant Jaswant Singh Khalra, written by Gurmeet Kaur. Thank you all for being here today. We have gathered for something far greater than an event. We have gathered to honor a soul whose courage continues to guide us even decades after his passing. When we talk about heroes, we often think of those who enjoy their recognition while they were still here. However, some heroes, like Shaheed Jaswant Singh Khalra, are remembered for the fearless truth they spoke and the sacrifices they made for humanity. Jaswant Singh Khalra's name is remembered as a voice that refused to stay quiet in the face of darkness. Khalra Sahib discovered and exposed 25,000 illegally killed bodies that the Punjab police had secretly disposed of. This brutal action was dictated by the Indian government. But here's what strikes most deeply. Although he had a family of his own, he made the ultimate selfless sacrifice to help other families receive justice by putting his own life on the line. He was well aware of the dangers he was facing. He received multiple death threats, was intimidated by the police, and bombarded by politicians. And still he stood tall. He spoke and carried the weight of justice, not because it was safe, because it is what a Sikh does. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਸੱਚ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਖੜਨਾ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਗਵਾਹ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ, ਇੱਥੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਆਪਣੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਵੀ, ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਡਟ ਕੇ ਖੜੇ ਰਹੇ। ਇਹੀ ਇੱਕ ਸੱਚੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਦਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। We are gathered to understand and carry forward what he has left behind. His legacy is not only in the documents he uncovered or the testimonies he gave, but in the spirit of resistance and commitment to justice. For the youth especially, Khalra Sahib's story is a lesson. It teaches us that one person armed with courage and compassion can make a difference against even the strongest powers. It teaches us that activism is not optional, but it is necessary. As we remember Jaswant Singh Khalra today, I want you to ask yourself, how will we continue his work? How will we speak for those who are silenced? How will we defend human rights, whether that's in Punjab, our own communities, or anybody else in the world facing oppression? Because a tribute is not complete with just words. A tribute is complete when we transform remembrance into action, and that is the greatest way to honor him. ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਪੂਰੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਯਾਦ ਨੂੰ ਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਦਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੇ ਇਹੀ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਹੈ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਜੀ ਲਈ honor ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ। Let us hold Jaswant Singh Khalra's memory in our hearts. Let us honor his sacrifice by living in the same courage and truth. With that being said, to start today's event, it is my honor to introduce our first speaker, who is a trailblazer in the Sikh community. Ravinder Singh Bhalla, please come to the stage. Ravinder Singh Bhalla, known as Ravi Bhalla, November 2017 ਵਿੱਚ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ Sikh mayor ਬਣੇ. Mayor Bhalla serves the city of Hoboken, New Jersey, and is currently running for a seat in Assembly this coming November. He is a lawyer, public servant, and a leader with deep roots settled in Sikh values. He has shown what it means to serve others with integrity and courage while standing proudly in your own identity. Please welcome Mayor Ravi Bhalla.
Thank you. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I want to first start by thanking Unify Humanity, and especially Simranjeet Kaur, Navleen Kaur, and the other young youth and women who organized this event. And even before that, I want to make sure that I thank their father, Butta Singh, and the other people from the other generation, the older generation, without whom we wouldn't be here. I see Amarjit Singh here, who, when I was a young man, even younger than some of the people who organized this event, they were an inspiration to me. Yadvinder Singh here, as I see from North Jersey, probably many others. Forgive me if I've forgotten, but during those times, I looked to role models, like some of the people I mentioned, and it's on the backs of their hard work, that I stand here today as a mayor in the city of Hoboken, New Jersey, and also an advocate for civil rights and justice in the U.S. and beyond. I want to make sure that for any of our guests who are here, who are not from the Sikh or Punjabi community, when we say Jaswant Singh Khalra, we also precede his name with the words Shaheed Bhai. Shaheed is a word in Punjabi that simply means somebody who has actually given the ultimate sacrifice for the cause of justice and for the cause of what's right. He's truly a Shaheed, and Bhai simply means brother, so it's Shaheed brother, then Jaswant Singh Khalra. And we had the Gyani Ji, our spiritual leader, give what's called Ardas, which is simply a Sikh prayer that's given on a frequent basis. But what's important is that part of Ardas actually memorializes, after our prophets, some of the sacrifices that the Shaheeds, the martyrs, had made in deference and in honor of our Sikh community. Which really, in short translates that they went through tremendous amounts of pain, tremendous amounts of torture, but they never forgot their faith. They never forgot who they are. And it's a great example for the youth and for the entire Sikh community, and we remember it every day when we congregate, that there are people who preceded us years ago who went through the great pain and suffering so that we can be here today. And it's important to always remember that. We're honored, obviously, to have, I believe, the Assemblywoman as well as Congressman Conaway here, and I want to acknowledge their presence as well. And just simply go back to when I was a college kid. I was a college kid at Cal Berkeley, born and raised in New Jersey, and I was interested in business. And then 1984 happened, and it changed everything for me. It turned my mind towards Sikhi, towards who I was as a Sikh, towards what was happening, the injustices, and the job of a Sikh being, as was just said, not to just speak about and speak out against injustice, but also make sure you take actions to advocate. So we would go to Capitol Hill, we would go to Washington, D.C., we would, work with Dr. Aulick from the Council of Khalistan. We would work with any advocates by Amarjit Singh to really impress upon the U.S. Congress what was happening, what was going on. And, I can give you two examples of that, teenager, college-age lobbying that we did on Capitol Hill. One a little bit sobering, one a little bit uplifting. I remember, one U.S. senator from Maryland, I can't remember her name, but, I was trying to let her know that, we're suffering. We're a minority in America, we're a minority in India, and we're suffering. We're suffering greatly. People are being killed, people are being tortured, people are being disappeared. And she said, you seem like a very nice young man, but here in the U.S. Congress, if it's anything that has to do with Africa or Asia, frankly, no one cares. And as a young teenager, that was something that stuck with me. About how our country works and how geopolitics works. I met another U.S. senator, while I was a young man lobbying. His name was Senator Paul Wellstone. I'm not sure if anyone knows who he is, but he was a former U.S. senator, tragically passed away, but he was a senator from the state of Minnesota. And I gave that same pitch. I said, Senator, we're suffering. We need a voice in Congress. We need somebody who can speak for us, some public figure who can speak out. He said, young man, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for being here in Washington. Thank you for speaking out. I will be your voice. So there are shining lights. We know Congressman Conaway is one of them. The Assemblywoman is one of them, who will represent people who are marginalized, who will represent people who are speaking out for shining the light that Jaswant Singh Khalra did for so many people. I vividly remember being in college and learning about his disappearance and how that progressed. Where is he? What happened? Why is he still not here? He's been an advocate. He's uncovered over 25,000 people, young Sikh men who've been disappeared, extrajudicial killings, state terrorism. And he's speaking out to shine a light on this darkness, what happened to him. And it's emotional for me to think about when I realize in my heart that, he's not going to be with us anymore, because he himself became one of the victims of the people that he was advocating for. So, in closing, I'm reminded of an Ethiopian proverb. And, that proverb says that people who don't remember their past have no future. And that's why it's important for all of us to be here today, to make sure that we remember our past so that we have a future, and to make sure that as Americans, we do our job. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to run for office, you don't have to upend your life. Talk to your neighbor, talk to your friends, serve on a local committee, serve on a police department, a fire department, a planning board, a zoning board, local council. These things, public service in and of itself will change the perception of the Sikh community with time, and it'll give us these spaces to talk about martyrs in our community, like Shaheed by Jaswant Singh Khalra, in a way where we can educate people, make sure that people understand we're normal, we're Americans. I was born and raised in America. I'm watching the U.S. Open tomorrow. I'm watching the NFL football, all these things. But I'm also a proud Sikh. I'm proud because as a Sikh and as an American, we believe in the same things. We believe in equality of all people. We believe in justice for everyone. We believe in every minority, whether they are female, Latino, African American, LGBTQ, Asian. Everyone should have a seat at the table in this country. This is the United States of America, and this is where we can exercise our voice in the memory of Shaheed by Jaswant Singh Khalra to educate the people of who we are. So, with that, I just want to extend my gratitude for allowing me to speak for a few minutes. I apologize if I went over my time, but I'm really, really, I came up from Hoboken just to be here today because this is too important. This is too important not to be here. And we have to all make sure that this is not just a few hours of our day, but we carry this forward. My pledge to you coming in as one of the first Sikh Americans in the New Jersey State Assembly next year is to make sure we raise that voice and that I am a representative of my district, the 32nd district in Hudson County, but also of the voices of people who don't have a voice, whether that's in the Sikh community or not in the Sikh community. That is my job as a Sikh public servant, and that's my promise to you. So with that, I'll allow the program to go on, and thank you very much for allowing me to say a few words. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Can I get Ivneet Singh Kharad, Jovan Singh Maan, and Hartap Singh Boyle to honor Mayor Ravi Bhalla, please?
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I first want to call up Kristen Foka, who is a representative from Andy Kim's office. She will be presenting a U.S. Senate recognition for Jaswant Singh Khalra's humanitarian aid. Now, I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, Assembly Majority Whip Carol Murphy. Assemblywoman Murphy proudly represents New Jersey's 7th Legislative District. Assemblywoman Murphy is a strong advocate for working families, veterans, and healthcare access. In 2023, Assemblywoman Murphy introduced and helped pass Bill AR 172, drafted by the Sikh Youth Alliance. The bill urges incorporation of Sikh instruction into social studies curriculum in schools. She is also the primary sponsor for the Anti-Sikh Hate and Discrimination Definition Bill, the first of its kind in the entire country. Assemblywoman Murphy is championing key Sikh issues, such as implementing Sikh education standards and making accessible state documents in the Gurmukhi Punjabi language. During the farmers' movement in Punjab, the Assemblywoman also introduced a resolution in the New Jersey State Assembly in support of our farmers. She has made a true difference in people's lives while staying grounded in the values of community and integrity. I know Navleen and I can vouch for her strength and determination, as we both have had the honor of interning at her office. We ask the Assemblywoman to stay on stage afterwards. Please welcome Assemblywoman Carol Murphy to speak a few words about Jaswant Singh Khalra.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all for including me. It's an honor and a privilege not only to represent the Sikh community in Trenton, but also to represent and be part of your community. You know, a few years ago when I met the Carr family, Buddha and Navleen and Samar and the entire family, they welcomed me into their home. And I'm going to talk to you today just a little bit, just remind me when my time's up, because I'll keep going, that This is coming from the heart. I could write all the words on the paper I need to, but watching and learning and understanding what the Sikh community is about is where this is coming from. You know, it's been several years that I've been involved with the Sikh community on many levels, including understanding the history, understanding the important work that you've done, not only in New Jersey, but also in the United States, back from the late 1800s all the way up to now. And your presence and your leadership and everything that you embodied is still so very much important to us, not only as a legislator, and not only as a mayor, and not only as a congressman, congresswoman, Senate. And you know what, Mayor? There is somebody who cares. I care. We all care about how our friends and our family and our community is treated. Today is a celebration of the freedoms that one man brought to light, but people were able to galvanize behind him and continue moving forward and saying to you, this is what I want to do. Humanity must exist amongst all of us. We are all human. We all have the right to live in peace. We all have a right to come to this country or go to other countries and learn and understand without fear of being targeted or fear of being hatred or fear of the discrimination that you may face, but more importantly, fear of being harmed physically, mentally, and emotionally because of who you are, the culture that you have. No one should endure that. A little bit on the education part, a lot of the bills that I did, including the one that will bring the diversity inclusion into our schools, is because the history is there. There's so many people, especially in DC, who want to wipe away the past, thinking that that's going to resolve all the issues that has happened. But it doesn't work that way. What works is understanding, learning, accepting, and talking and communicating, and sharing the difference of opinions that we all have, and understanding those difference of opinions, but more importantly, fighting for what we all believe in. Today, we celebrate a man who actually did that against all odds, who stood up and brought peace, who stood up and fought for his community to assure that peace is inevitable. And today, you're still facing those fights. We are all facing those fights. We all need to be present in our communities. We need to be committed. We need to be dedicated. You need to be true to yourself in order to be successful in your community. And if you're not true to yourself, you will never be successful. With that, this is why it's so important that I end my speech by telling you how much we have to assure that our younger generation is fully aware of the history, fully aware that it's okay to have arguments, but argue with the passion that you feel inside. Argue with the passion that your community brings to you. Argue with the passion that you have moving forward. But more importantly, argue with the passion that you feel in your heart and you know what is right. Sometimes, a lot of times, if not more than not, it's very hard to stand up for what's right because we all want to just do the easiest thing and walk out the door. But I can tell you, if you do what's right and you take time to really believe in what you're doing and argue with the passion, it's all going to work. And to those who are the younger youth that are here, it's worth the knowledge and it's worth the education to understand what it is that you are learning today. With that, I want to say thank you so very much. It's such an honor and a great pride that I accept when I come into my community that I am with you. I am part. And my adopted sisters, where did Nevlin go? I call them my adopted sisters because, you know what, my adopted family, because I feel right at home when I go to their house and have dinner, or I go to the temple. And Bhupender Singh as well. You know what, we take pride in ourselves, but let's take pride in our community. Let's take pride in our friends, and let's continue opening the door and understanding and argue with the passion and be there for one another and truly understand. With that, I'm going to say thank you so very much, and it's been an honor and a privilege, and I look forward to continue being part of your community as we move forward. Thank you.
Can I please get Jasleen Kaur, Saj Kaur, Jind Kaur, Prableen Kaur, and Majot Kaur Chauhal, along with Sophia Rosenberg, to the stage to honor Assemblywoman Murphy? I also ask everyone to please turn off their ringers if they have any of them on.
I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, Congressman Herb Conaway. Dr. Conaway is a physician, attorney, veteran, and a dedicated public servant from New Jersey. After serving as captain in the U.S. Air Force Medical Corps, he went on to represent New Jersey's 7th District in the State Assembly for over 25 years. In 2024, he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, where he now serves the 3rd Congressional District of New Jersey. Congressman Conaway continues to bring his expertise in healthcare and law to fight for issues of justice and equal opportunity for all. On June 5th, my family and I had the privilege of personally inviting the Congressman to this event. It was meaningful to us that both he and his remarkable Chief of Staff, Keith Rochford, listened to us so attentively as we shared who Khalra Sahib was. The very next day, Dr. Conaway joined us in the Capitol for Ardas in the remembrance of 1984 Harmandir Sahib attack, an act of solidarity we greatly value. We are truly grateful for his time and support. I ask the Congressman to stay on stage after his speech. Please welcome Congressman Herb Conaway to say a few words about Jaswant Singh Khalra.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very pleased to join this distinguished group, body, members of our community, as we take time, as is appropriate, to celebrate the 30 years of Jaswant Singh Khalra's life and what it meant to freedom and justice, the uplifting of those values to communities not only here, but in the Punjab and in the subcontinent. I'm pleased to join in honoring his legacy on the day that a school named in his honors opened in Fresno, California. The celebration of a school teaching courage, truth, and human rights, in addition to the foundational questions of math and English and science, will establish an ongoing legacy for how important it is to make sure that as we educate children, as we bring them forward into the world, teach them, that we teach them the values that we hope are broadly shared around the world. He was a fearless fighter for human rights, an activist who courageously stuck to his values, educated those around him, brought into the light tragedies that needed to be known and addressed, and did so courageously, even when his life was at risk. And indeed, he spoke truth to power through it all, and unfortunately lost his life because of his great courage. But the school will stand as a beacon of that same courage, a place where young minds will grow and students will learn. And so I'm very pleased to join you all today in a celebration of his life and his work, and to the future learning that will take place in that school and other schools that I'm sure will follow. Human rights are not just the privilege of a few. They are the birthright of all human beings. Across the world, people learn and yearn to live in dignity and freedom and justice. This aspiration knows no borders, it knows no religion, it knows no language. And it's appropriate to draw attention to Punjab, a land of rich in culture and in history and resilience, and like all regions, deserves the protection of fundamental human rights, the freedom of expression, freedom of peaceful assembly, equal treatment, and access to justice. It's not, and I should say, while India is the largest democracy in the world and has made strides in upholding rights for its people, at the same time it's vital that no region in our community go unheard and misunderstood. No community deserves to be marginalized. A strong democracy listens, adapts, and grows stronger through dialogue and transparency. The call is not one of confrontation, but of compassion. We believe in rights that are upheld, and when they are upheld, trust deepens, and voices are heard, and unity prevails. Let us stand together in a spirit of progress, urging continued commitment to justice and equality for all. Now, if we can all focus on that in the world, just imagine the progress that will come to the world. Potentially the end of war, the end of starvation, the end of marginalization, the end of dehumanization. That's what we seek. And working together in unity, recognizing that we are all brothers and sisters on this earth, citizens of the world, who are born striving for what we all strive for, to live in peace, to enjoy your religion, to live out your culture, to grow and to learn and to help and to make things better. I'll work with you shoulder to shoulder in achieving that dream. I hope that we see it sooner rather than later, but I know unless we stand together and work to make those values manifest in the lives of all, then we'll never get there. Thank you for what you're doing today. Thank you for your contributions to our community. Thank you for your growing presence and help and education. You know, America, and I'm a little biased here, and I know there are citizens obviously here in this country, in this room who are naturalized here, who were born here. But it's a place where you can come and you can call yourself an American. Mayor Bhalla said, you know, I watch the U.S. Open and I watch football. These are, well, tennis is not an American game. Football certainly is American football. And it's this process of acculturation and the ability, if left unmolested, to prevail and to succeed and to strive in our nation, in our land. We know that there are forces that oppose these values, and sadly they are ascendant at the very highest reaches of our government today. It is one of the sad histories and facts of the world is that people often in power will seek to divide rather than bring people together, and they'll do that for their own self-aggrandizement, for money, for power, for fame. And these are forces and ideas that tear us apart and lead to so much misery and destruction and heartache. But we can work against them, because I believe there are many more people who understand the value of working together and living together in peace. We will achieve that. And I stand with you and working for that future. Thank you very much.
Can I get Balkar Singh Saini, Charanjit Singh Maan, Mohan Singh Boyle, and Ranjit Singh Taliwal to the stage to honor Congressman Conaway?
Once again, we are grateful to our state members who took the time out of their busy schedules to join us today. It means a great deal to us. Now, I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, Bubban Singh Kasa, who I asked to make his way to the stage. Bubban Singh Kasa is joining us from Virginia and has been a Sikh activist from a young age by advocating for Sikhs in the U.S. government. Kasa ji da organization da naam hai Sikh Assembly of America. The ਇਹ organization Sikhਾਂ ਦੇ U.S. government ਦੇ ਨਾਲ advocacy ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਹੋਰ lobbying firms ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ. Tonight, Kasa ji also has a flight to California where he's attending another event dedicated to Shaheed Jaswant Singh Khalra. It's being held at the Stockton Gurdwara, the first Sikh Gurdwara created in the United States of America. The event is also being hosted by Shiromani Akali Dar Amritsar. And to any Sangat watching from California, we ask that you support and attend the event if you can. ਸਾਡਾ schedule ਥੋੜਾ tight ਹੈ, ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਰੇ speakers ਆਪਣੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਰੱਖਣ ਜੀ. ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ. And now I present to you Bubban Singh Kasa to say a few words about Jaswant Singh Khalra for 7 minutes.
ਦੂਰੋਂ ਨੇੜਿਓਂ ਚੱਲ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਾਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਫਤਿਹ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਅਸੀਂ ਅਕਸਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਦਿਹਾੜੇ ਮਨਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਵਾਲ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਕਸੈਸਫੁਲ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਨਾਉਣਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਆ। We should ask ourselves, how do we pay tribute to our shaheeds? Why is it relevant? If it happened 30 years ago, what does it have to do with today? Why is it important not to forget? And it doesn't just stop there at just remembering, but Satsangji, we're living the genocide. It's happening right now in Punjab. There was a time period in the 80s and early 90s when the same Indian government was using the same old tactics and making our people disappear. Letting the floodwaters, using the police forces, raiding press offices, putting people into jails, whether it's by Amritpal Singh or anybody else, using their frivolous laws, TADA, NSA. What is it? It's the continuation of the genocide. So as we sit here, 30 years later, thousands of miles away from Punjab, where the disappearance of Mr. Jaswant Singh Khalra happened, it matters. It is relevant as ever before, because now the dirty games of a third world country are no longer just limited to the physical boundaries of, to their political boundaries of India or Punjab, but it is happening in North America. They killed Bhai Hardeep Singh Nijjar 2 years ago in Canada, enjoying his freedoms, living a free life under the Canadian Constitution, and they had other plans to kill Gurpatwant Singh Pannu here in New York. It's a threat, not just to the Sikh community, but it is a threat to America, which is why it's relevant, which is why it matters. Because what happened is, those who fought, those who stayed behind, they were disappeared, they were tortured, they were butchered, they were assassinated, they were killed. And then the trauma did not just end there. Whenever Punjab police would kill somebody, they would tell the whole village and their neighbors not to go and express sorrow or stand with the family. So the trauma just continues from one generation to the next. When you're a 10-year-old, when you're a 5-year-old, when you're a 17-year-old, 18-year-old young woman who just got raped at the police station, now you have come back home, you find out that your brother and your father have been killed, but now there's nobody else to listen to your story. You have got nobody left with you to go to the court system. And that is what we're suffering from. And that is called generational trauma. I'm truly happy. It is a sad occasion. It is a sad occasion today, but our Guru tells us to stay in Chardi Kala. Everlasting high spirits, right? So we gotta have this hope. And we got to hang on to the good things that Guru is sending our way. And today Guru is sending us our youth that is organizing this event. For the longest time we thought there was political vacuum because the immigrants who came from Punjab, they came with their story, they came with their narrative, but then the narrative was not being passed on to the next generation. The next generation thought, this is my parents' battle, I've got nothing to do with it. But thankful to Modi, thankful to the Indian government for committing more atrocities in present day, that they have truly inspired our youth to make this their own battle, to make this their fight. ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਇੰਸਟੀਟਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਖਤਮ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਗਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਭਾਈ ਜਥੇਦਾਰ ਕੌਂਕੇ ਹੋਣਾ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਸਪੀਅਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੰਤ ਜਰਨੈਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਪਿੰਡਰਾਂ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਸਪੀਅਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਮਾਰਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਸਾਡੀ ਕੈਰੈਕਟਰ ਅਸੈਸੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਦਾਇਰੇ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਅਕਾਲ ਤਖਤ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੂੰ ਗੁਲਾਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਜਥੇਦਾਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਇਸ਼ਾਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਨੱਚਦੇ ਆ ਸਾਡੀ ਐਸਜੀਪੀਸੀ ਕਰਪਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਯੂਥ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਪ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਆਸ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਦੇਖਦੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਯੂਥ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਕੀ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੈ ਕੀ ਆ ਇਹ ਸਰਕਮਸਟੈਂਸਸ ਪੈਦਾ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਹੋਪਲੈਸਨੈਸ ਲਈ ਢਹਿੰਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਵੱਲ ਜਾਵੇ ਪੰਥ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਸ਼ਿਆਂ ਵੱਲ ਯੂਥ ਗਿਆ ਆ ਉਸ ਪਾਸੇ ਜਾਣ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਦੀ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕ ਓਪਰਚੁਨਿਟੀ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਖਤਮ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਨੇ but today I'm hopeful we will prevail. Now, it does take a lot to serve the community, to do seva. We have this Western perspective on seva that somehow you do good and you get appreciated. But let me remind you, for those of you who are on this path, this is a highly rewarding path, but in a very different sense. Do not look for appreciation for anybody else. It could be that you're fighting for the same community members and you may not feel appreciation, either words or actions coming from them, but your relationship is with your guru. ਸਾਡਾ ਨਾਤਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆ ਕੋਈ ਬੰਦਾ ਸਾਡੀ ਉਸਤਤ ਕਰੇ ਜਾਂ ਨਾ ਕਰੇ that should not affect us. ਭਾਈ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਡਾਰਕਨੈਸ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹਨੇਰਾ ਆ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਆ And that's exactly what we're doing. So we need to make sure that where we enjoy our freedoms, we enjoy our liberties, we need to come together. We need to rise above partisanship. We need to seek help from the Democrats. We need to seek help from the Republicans. We need to seek help from the independents. Anywhere where we could get help from, we need to be there. And first and foremost, we need to make sure that we stand for America. We stand for American values. This is the nation that took care of us when we needed it the most. This is the country that gave us political asylums. This is the country that brought us economic opportunities. So right now, countries like India, China, Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, when they engage in transnational repression, they're challenging our sovereignty. They're challenging our Constitution. They're challenging America. We need to stand up for America. And I'm so glad that the political circles in Washington, D.C. are finally realizing the true face of India that Sikhs have been yelling for decades, telling them that it is a corrupt government, they will never be your allies, they will never be your friends, and here we go, Modi goes and joins hands with China and Russia. So with that being said, परमात्मा दे अगे अरदास करते हैं महाराज चढ़दी कला बख्शण मेरियां भैणां नूं जिन्हां ने बहुत सोहना अज प्रोग्राम जिहड़ा आयोजित किया गया क्योंकि खासकर जिहड़ी सिक्खी बचाई आ वो फीमेल्स ने बचाई आ सिक्खी मां दे थ्रू ट्रांसफर हमेशा हुंदी आ सो असीं स्ट्रोंग धीआं पैदा करिए जिहड़ियां स्ट्रोंग वाइव्स बनन ते फिर स्ट्रोंग मातावां बनन सो बहुत ही दिल नूं मतलब भी ठंड पई आ इत्थे आके कि साडीआं भैणां जिहड़ियां फोरफ्रंट ते आईयां ने जिन्हां नूं हमेशा ही असीं पिछे जां रखिया जांदा है जां सर्कमस्टेंसेस इहो जिहे पैदा हो जांदे आ कि भैणां अगे नहीं आ सकदियां सो विद दैट बीइंग सेड God bless America ते महाराज चढ़दी कला बख्शण वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह
Now, I am honored to introduce to you all Jind and Saj Kaur with Anup Singh. Jind and Saj Kaur have been learning classical kirtan in rags from Dr. Manpreet Singh since they were 6 years old and have competed in many competitions including Hemkund Kirtan. They have won 3 separate times at internationals, and this past July, along with Anup, won gold in Texas. Anup started learning tabla at a young age from Ravinder Singh around 3 years ago. He has played tabla at many gurdwaras for kirtan darbars and also participated in Hemkund and in Rag Naad. We thank them for taking the time to join us today. Please welcome Jind Kaur, Saj Kaur, and Anup Singh performing Gagan Damama Baju.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।
Before we start our panel, we'd like to thank the representatives, committee members, and Sangat of these Gurdwaras. Gurdwara Sahib Vineland, Gurdwara Sahib Pine Hill, Gurdwara Sahib Cherry Hill, Gurdwara Sahib Kasa Darbad Burlington, Gurdwara Sahib Central Jersey, Gurdwara Sahib Lawrenceville, Gurdwara Sahib Monroe, Gurdwara Sahib Bridgewater, Gurdwara Sahib Dashmesh Darbad Carteret, Gurdwara Sahib Singh Sabha Carteret, Gurdwara Sahib Glenrock, Gurdwara Sahib Nanak Nam Jahaj, Jersey City, Gurdwara Sahib Oakland, Gurdwara Sahib Philadelphia, Gurdwara Sahib Singh Sabha Virginia, Gurdwara Sahib Sikh Center Virginia, Gurdwara Sahib Richmond Hill New York, Gurdwara Sahib Flushing New York, and Sikh Gurdwara East Coast Committee, along with any Gurdwara Sahibs from the surrounding areas. Thank you for joining us today and giving us your support. Now, I'm honored to introduce my sister, Navleen, as the mediator of our panel. Please welcome Navleen Kaur Kharod.
ਅੱਜ ਮੈਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਆਨਰਡ ਫੀਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ 5 ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਖਾਸ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਇੰਟਰੋਡਿਊਸ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ ਜੋ ਦੂਰੋਂ ਸਫ਼ਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਹਿੱਸੇ ਬਣਨ ਆਏ ਨੇ। ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਬਾਰੇ, ਸਿੱਖੀ ਬਾਰੇ ਤੇ ਓਵਰਆਲ ਐਕਟਿਵਿਜ਼ਮ ਬਾਰੇ। So let's introduce our panelists. Our first panelist is an incredible Sikh youth activist joining us from Dallas, Texas. Dohara Kaur Man's interest in Sikh politics first started from watching her grandfather, Jaswant Singh Man, stand up for what he believed in. That passion and interest grew as she watched her father, Kushalpal Singh Man, do the same, along with teaching Dohara to stand up and fight for what she believes in as a Sikh. We thank her for her time as she is currently in school, so please welcome Dohara Kaur Man. Yes, thank you. Our next panelist is joining us from Pennsylvania and is a fellow Sikh youth activist. While completing his last semester for his MBA and working in an accounting firm as an auditor, Jaswant Singh uses his voice to awaken and mobilize Sikh Sangat about the sovereign authority bestowed upon the Kasa Panth by our Guru Sahib, known as the Kasa Raj, or today takes the form of Khalistan. We thank him for his time in joining us today, so please welcome Jaswant Singh. Our next panelist is joining us from Washington, D.C. Tej Karan Kaur Bands works as a legislative assistant to Congressman Tom Suozzi and is also here on his behalf. She completed her master's in law in 2020 after receiving her Juris Doctor in 2017. She is also a part of the Humanitarian and Civil Rights Volunteer Council and is in charge of the Legal Aid Clinic, which provides free services to Sikhs and other minorities who need lawyers in human rights, family, civil, and many other matters. She is busy with Sikh activism and American politics, so we thank her for joining us today. Everyone, please welcome Tej Karan Kaur Bands. Our next speaker is joining us from all the way from Canada. Akashdeep Singh is a fellow Sikh activist. He focuses on normalizing Panthak culture within our Naujawan, which is through programming, content, engagement, and simply building confidence to discuss and propagate ideas of Badshahi, Rajniti, Khalistan, and Shangarsh. He works full-time with the Khalistan Center as Sevadar of Media, Marketing, and Community Engagement. We thank him for joining us today, and please welcome Akashdeep Singh. Last, but certainly not least, our final panelist is joining us from New York and supports her community in any way she can. Abhinash Kaur was a part of a powerful project called Kaur's Reimagine. The project focuses on empowering Sikh women through inspiration of wisdom, courageous storytelling, healing through narrative. Abhinash is currently a medical student, and so we thank her for taking the time to join us. Please welcome Abhinash Kaur. And thank you guys so much for coming to this event. As we've all heard, they were not local. They all either had to catch a flight, drive 3 hours to get here this morning, stay at a hotel, just to accommodate our needs for this panel. So once again, thank you all so, so much for being here. To start off, as we know, you are all active in your own kind of work in a different way. And as we're talking about Jaswant Singh Khalra, he is also an avid speaker, avid activist. So I wanted to ask you, when you think about Jaswant Singh Khalra's work or his actions, which part of his story inspires you the most, and how do you carry that own spirit in your life? I'm sorry, Bhalla, we'll start with you first.
What stands out to me about Jaswant Singh Khalra is it isn't just his courage, but his empathy and wisdom. From a young age, he was extremely intelligent. When the Freedom Fighters Pension Fund was rewarded, he knew it would be wrong to accept it, as he knew that the government was giving this money so the people won't revolt against them later. Since the government was the one engaging in these exploitations, oppression, and discrimination, Jaswant Singh Khalra knew not to accept this money, as this was just hush money. Secondly, he felt empathy not only for the Punjabi Indians, but for the Pakistani Punjabis as well. As a young Sikh activist, I take this to heart. To be a successful activist, you need courage, grit, and determination, but more than anything, you need empathy. Empathy is the driving force of being an activist, and it is the driving force of Sikhi. We must feel empathy for people like us and people different than us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dora, for your statement. Basant?
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. So what part of Khalra's work or actions has inspired you the most? And from that, how do you carry that same spirit in your own life?
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਬਾਰੇ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਇਹ ਕਿਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸੇਧ ਲੈਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਆਈ ਵੁੱਡ ਫੀਲ ਲਾਈਕ ਮੇਰੇ ਲਈ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਆਹੀ ਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਕਦੀ ਅਸਿਮੀਲੇਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਦੌਰ ਸੀਗਾ 84 ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿ ਖਾੜਕੂਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਲਮੋਸਟ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਇੰਨੀ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਰਾਜੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਜਾਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਰਾਜ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਰਾਜੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਪਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਬਣਨਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਾਰੋਬਾਰ ਦਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਘਰ-ਬਾਰ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਬਣਨਾ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਫੇਰ ਵੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਉਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਲਿਬਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਉਹ ਮੈਗਜ਼ੀਨ ਇੱਕ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆਹੀ ਇੱਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੀ ਤੇ ਆਜ਼ਾਦ ਸਿੱਖ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਫਿਲਾਸਫੀ ਆ ਆਈਡੀਓਲੋਜੀ ਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਵੀ ਫੈਲਾਇਆ ਸੋ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਫॉर ਮੀ ਦੈਟਸ most important that he never assimilated to the Indian narrative. He always chose his own path based off of Gurmat.
Absolutely, and it takes a lot, to take that courage and run with it, and I think Jaswant Singh Khalra is a great example of that. Thank you so much. Tej?
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So out of all of Shaheed Bhai Jaswant Singh Ji Khalra's qualities, the one that I think is the most important and the one that I think that if we follow it, everything else will come into our lives is Shaheed Ji's genuineness. When we look at, it reminds me of a Sakhi actually. Guru Gobind Singh Ji was once in Sangat and he asked the Sangat, who is the most handsome man and who is the most beautiful woman? And the answer that Guruji gave is the most handsome man is one who is committed to his word. And the most handsome woman, the most beautiful woman is one who has good moral character and gentleness. When we look at Shaheed Jaswant Singh Ji Khalra's life, there's an anecdote where one of his friends sees him one day in the morning and he's doing Ishnan and he's doing Nityanim and they were shocked. And Jaswant Singh Khalra, they asked him that when did you become so religious? And Jaswant Singh Khalra Ji said, when I was a communist, I thought it was important to be a true communist. And then when I joined the IDP, I was 100% committed to those values. And later, now that I found Gurmat, that is where I'm going to be committed 100%. Like Guru Sahib teaches us, Dilo Mahabbat Jin se Satya Jin Mahor Mokhor se Kande Kachya. So Shaheed Khalra ji had the Shakti of Guru Granth Sahib ji. His genuineness was a good quality in every stage of his life, but when that genuineness turned toward Guru Granth Sahib ji, that's when Shaheed Khalra ji got all the power, and that is the framework of who Khalra ji is, and that is what we should take away from his life.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tej. That was a great quote to refer and, apply to Jaswant Singh Khalra's work and life in general. Akash, your thoughts?
Anji, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. In terms of Bhai Jaswant Singh Khalra, I think the emotion that tends to be conveyed the most is his conviction. Bhai Jaswant Singh Ji had every single opportunity to leave the path. He had every opportunity to claim asylum in the States and Canada. I believe even his brother told him to not go back to Punjab when he came into the West in 1995 for the tour through UK, Canada, and America in terms of explaining the human rights abuses that were occurring in Punjab. His brother told him to stay. He had the opportunity for asylum, but he refused, mainly because he understood what not only what Shahidi is, but he understood what his work is and what Maharaj would do with that work, kind of going forward with it, understanding Hukam. So it's one thing to fight for your work. It's another thing to die for your work, but it's a third thing to yearn for Shahidi. And so in terms of Bhai Jaswant Singh, his conviction to go back to Punjab, even prior to him leaving to coming to Canada, KPS Gill sat him down in, I believe, KPS Gill's house and said that effectively, we're going to kill you if you continue doing the work that you're doing. And Jaswant Singh, I believe, sat on that information for a while, still went abroad, still advocated for human rights, and then intentfully went back to Punjab to attain Shahidi, because he knew that whatever work he was doing at that point in time, how it would echo throughout the West and everywhere else would echo the way it would. But when you put everything into Maharaj's hands and you attain Shahidi, then you echo into eternity. Right? You're Sadivi at that point. And he knew that putting this work into Maharaj's hands would take it into exponential levels that we see today in terms of the Sangharsh that we see on the ground, whether that's through esteemed individuals like Bhai Diljit Singh Bittu, whether that's through Sangat and people that we see here in the West, like Bhai Maninder Singh and Bhai Prabjot Singh. The Sangharsh very much is Sadivi, and I think that's something that Bhai Jaswant Singh Ji understood fully, and his commitment and the conviction that he had to come back and attain Shahidi for that work to keep progressing forward is something that I'll probably never be able to truly comprehend.
Absolutely, and I can definitely understand that type of bravery isn't installed in everyone as soon as they're born. So thank you so much for calling that out, Akash. Avinash?
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Nanak Raj Chalaya, Sach Kot Satani Neev Ke. For me, what Jaswant Singh Khalra stood for and what inspired me the most was his very inspiration from Gurbani. What did a foundation of truth look like for him, and how did it inform his views on what does Raj, governance, look like? He didn't just speak those words, but he actually lived by those words. For him, he was at the forefront of so many different movements, whether it was the Najwan Bharat Sabha, whether it was working with police brutality, whether it was giving farmers their rights to unionize and informing them how they're being exploited by violent systems of structures that are set in place. Jaswant Singh Khalra is inspirational because of how dynamic of a person he was. When the Naxalite ideology no longer rang true from him, he rejected it, and he continued to dive to figure out what is my ideology. And at the end, as Teji pointed out, he ended up at what Sikh activism looks like. How is that different from his prior activism? Well, he stood on serving Panth, not serving any communities or factions, but serving the nation itself. And for him, it was about the Sikh struggle, about the political sovereignty of Punjab not being able to have that right to self-determination. So his legacy is not just that he identified those 25,000 victims. His legacy is so much more expansive than that, because it was about meaty-beaty. What does that political sovereignty look like for us? And so in all these ways, he was radically social, and he was revolutionary political. And he asked us to transform ourselves within our actions. And it starts with that internal transformation through Barney that ends up as an external manifestation within his community. He was engaging with academics, with social spaces. He invited journalists on the ground and asked them to document, to witness the genocides that was occurring. He also knew how to create partnerships, how to organize grassroots movements, and in this way, he knew how to be a member of a cooperative society. So for me, in that way, Jaswant Singh Khalra's very actions inspire. Let's engage with Barney, and let's understand, what does Sikh politics look like?
Thank you so much, and I'm so glad that you pointed out the meaty and the beaty, because that is so important in Sikhi. So I'm going to go ahead and ask my second question now. This can be applied to anybody that's in the audience as well. As we know, living in America or even Canada, sometimes it's hard to conform to society's norms and fit in. And I know that I have personally felt this way, my family and I have personally felt this way. You know, either we're going out in public and everyone's staring because, you know, my dad wears a bug, or my little brother wears a bug as well, or we're in a Six Flags line and everyone stops to stares. It's hard to fit in. So my question to you is, how have you been able to navigate the tension of unapologetically being Sikh, yet still finding belonging within society, even today as you get wiser? Basant, we'll start off with you.
I think just to kind of unpack that question, the whole being unapologetically Sikh, I feel like recently it's been to a point where it's just, I'm a Sikh, right? I'm an activist. I talk about these things, and it's just at a point where it's, why am I apologetic about this thing, right? ਇਹ ਸਗੋਂ ਮਾਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਵਿਚਰਦੇ ਆ ਦੁਨੀਆ 'ਚ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਦਮਾਲਾ ਜਾਂ ਪੱਗ ਬੰਨ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਵਿਚਰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਲੋਕ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਆ ਕੇ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੌਣ ਹੋ? ਪਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਆ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਗੱਲ ਵੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਉੱਦਾਂ, ਪਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਮਾਣ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਲੱਗਦੇ। ਸਾਨੂੰ ਗੁਰੂ ਨੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਪਹਿਰਾਵਾ ਇਹ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਆ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਗੁਰੂ ਨੇ ਸ਼ੇਰ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਸਾਜਿਆ ਆ। So we need to kind of unpack that with the external community, who we are, what we stand for. So I think that's a big part of how going about in society is not seeing yourself as separate, but kind of seeing yourself as equal.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Tej, your thoughts?
Sure. So in response to this question, I actually don't think that a Sikh should try to merge with society or be the same as society, because Gurbani says that Bhagtan ki chal nirali, Bhagta te samsariya, they can never meet. Nirul kade na aaya. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji gave us a powerful tool that, thank you. Vaheguru Ji. So what I was saying is that a Sikh has never liked society, because Guru Gobind Singh Ji made us different and gave us the promise that Jab lag Khalsa rahe niyara, tab lag tej diyo main sara. And when I go in society, I started wearing the dastar when I was about 14 years old approximately. And the first thing I realize is when people see me, they'll remember me. I don't remember people's names, but I'll run into someone because we have something different. And that is a big gift. It's a power. Because when you're going into your career, people are trying on their resumes when they go to interviews to be distinct. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji already gave us that incredible thing. But with that, I want to say to the Sikh youth, our appearance outside should not be the most distinct thing about us. but our inner compassion, the way we live, the virtues we have. A Sikh doesn't run the way of the world. The world turns their head when they see injustice. A Sikh will go and fight it. A Sikh is not like every other animal. They're like a lion. When you throw a stick, a dog will chase the stick. When you throw something at another animal, a piece of food, a dog or cat will chase it. But when you throw it at a lion, the lion will run towards it. So Guru Sahib made us different, but unfortunately, when our generations came here, they got a little disconnected from this identity from Gurbani, and our parents had to work hard and struggle because they were oppressed from all four sides, and they had to make life for us. So we forgot the message of Gurbani. But our identity is never something we have to water down, but we have to have confidence that we have a gift for society. We don't need to show society that we are like them. There's a phrase in Punjabi that says, "Banda nu sama da hani hona chahida." Yeah, a person should be with the times. But for a Sikh, Sikh nu sama da hani nahi banna chahida. Sikh nu sama nu lead karna chahida. We should be even ahead of the times. And we should know that the message and identity we have, it's something that people all over the world, whether it's the Eastern world or the Western world, they need these teachings. Our teachings are brilliant, modern, and they're never before seen. So just like Guru Nanak Dev Ji didn't try to fit in, when everyone was throwing water to one direction, Guru Sahib threw it to the other direction. A Sikh should never try to fit in. We are born to lead. We are born to be different. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
I think that's a great point that you made, and I will say when I was at Washington, D.C., and I met Dej for the first time, I couldn't forget her face because of the crown on her head. So it's a great point that you pointed out, because our identity is so different that we can forget who we meet, but other people won't forget who we look like and who we are. Akash, your thoughts?
Just to kind of like echo what's already been said, society is extremely fickle. Like, society changes with the wind. Society says one thing a year ago, it's saying something different today. The reality is, for a Sikh, if we truly believe that Sikhi is eternal, if we truly believe that Sikhi is the ultimate truth, then there's no real rationale or reason to try and comply or fit into any form of society that we haven't at least dictated. Because to fit into society sets at least the understanding that someone else is dictating the terms there. And it's not you. You're not a stakeholder then in that society. You're simply being subservient to what society is telling you to be. I mean, growing up in Canada, the amount of times I've heard every time there's a Nagar Kirtan or any time that Singhs are outside and then there's Shastrtari, the amount of times I hear from liberal society that, you know, there's no necessity to be Shastrtari anymore, even from within our own Sikh community. I've heard it a million times. But for us, Maharaj gave us that bachan to be Shastrtari, to adorn ourselves with arms, and that's something that either we don't compromise on, or we compromise ourselves and try and fit into society, but then we lose who we are. So with something like this, it's as simple as it is to say, and probably harder than it is to practice, being unapologetically Sikh is really all that there is. There is no other option. There's no, as much as I hear it in many different spaces, I don't really believe that Sikh values are Canadian values, Sikh values are American values, Sikh values are Sikh values, and they are universal, which is why we see the application of Sikhs being able to integrate and being able to engage in different countries and stuff like that, is because the Maharaj gave us universal truths, universal culture, universal tradition. But we are never, and especially for the Naujawan here, we should never put ourselves in a position where we try and cut off pieces of ourselves to fit into a mold of society. Maharaj gave us a distinct identity, a distinct dharam, distinct traditions, a distinct sabhyachar for a specific reason. The reason why Sikhi exists even to this very day is because we have held ourselves to our Guru's culture and not anybody else's. Any Sikhi that, anytime that we've actually ever endured any form of actual suffering and consequences when we've shied away from our Guru's culture, and shifted towards someone else's.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that. And I feel like social media kind of also plays a role. You know, whatever we see, we digest. So when we see trends changing, we feel like we need to fit those norms as well. But at the end of the day, it's always changing, so you'll never be able to fit into those norms. Be who you are at the end of the day, and as Akash said, you know, follow what Gurbani says. And Abhinash, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree similarly that The question really is where are we trying to find that belonging? Are we trying to find it in an American system of capitalism, of imperialism and colonialism? Or are we trying to do actual harm reduction and work towards abolishing those types of practices? So it's really about where are we trying to build that society? And when we create partnerships with those types of people that are challenging these systems, then I can say that that might be a place where we try and find a belonging. But to be unapologetically Sikh does mean to challenge the status quo. And so you are going to have to face that opposition, as Jaswant Singh Khalra ji did, as many other activists do, and community members who are even working in our own societies here in America or Canada. So for me, this submission is really about surrendering the self in order to have that unapologetically Sikh mindset to begin with. And, you know, I always come back to this one line of Ramki Ki War, where Satan Balwant talk about how when Guru Nanak challenged the status quo, the Ganga started flowing the opposite way. That is how powerful of a movement we have. That's our heritage. So for me, that means that wherever I am, whether it's in my home in Richmond Hill, it means let's talk about what are the marginalized groups here. Let's find belonging there and build partnerships there while keeping hold of our Sikh spirits and Sikh values.
Thank you so much for that. And while we are on the topic of Sikh activism and young Sikhs going into activism, Sikh activism, and the Sikh community just being part of it, we actually have Dora on stage who is 16 years old and is actively involved in the Sikh community and just speaking up for advocacy. Dora ਸਿਰਫ 16 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ activism ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ actively ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਹੋ. So what exactly inspires you to go into activism and advocacy at such a young age?
For me, Sikh activism isn't something that I stumbled into, but it was something I was born into. My grandfather, or my Dadaji, Jaswant Singh Man, was a Sikh activist, and he was in the party, in the political party that's sponsoring this event. My grandmother, Dr. Tripat Kaur, who has a PhD in Punjabi studies, teaches me the importance of Sikhi. My Nana ji, or my grandpa, Major General Sukhbir Singh Jawanda, he teaches me to be courageous. And my Nani ji, Satwant Kaur Jawanda, teaches me to have empathy. All of these characteristics added together teach me to be a Sikh activist. But more than anything, it's Sikhi itself that inspires me to become a Sikh activist. Guru Nanak Dev Ji gave us a radical truth that everyone is equal. No one is higher and no one is lower. As a young Sikh woman, it is refreshing to be in a society where women are treated as equals and not in a society where a wife is put below a husband or a sister below a brother. Guru Nanak Dev Ji's teaching has shaped the way I see the world. It is impossible for me to stay silent when I see injustice. If everyone is equal in the eyes of God, then oppression anywhere, on any level, big or small, is an insult to that truth. That's why when I speak up as a Sikh, I don't only speak up for Sikhs, I also speak up for other communities. I think about the Palestinians who are being put through a genocide. I think about the indigenous peoples here on this land still fighting for sovereignty. I think about black communities who have taken centuries of struggle. For me, standing in my Sikhi means standing with marginalized groups. My actions come from being Sikh, but it stretches across humanity. People sometimes think activism belongs to adults with power, but Sikh history shows otherwise. Ma Bhago was a young woman when she rallied soldiers back to their duty. History tells us that there's no such thing as too young to act. At 16, my activism looks a little different. It's raising my voice in my environment, asking uncomfortable questions where silence is easier, and amplifying stories that otherwise may be erased. But more than anything, what inspires me to be an activist is responsibility. Silence is never neutral. Anytime someone is silent, they are siding with the oppressor. So when I see injustice, whether in Punjab, in Palestine, or right here, I know I cannot inherit silence. I have to inherit courage. That's what inspired me to get involved young. My lineage, my belief in Sikhi, and my conviction that justice is not someone else's responsibility, it's mine too.
Thank you so much for that, Dohara. Again, she's 16 years old, and this kind of mindset is very rare to find in teenagers at this age. So I'm sure I could speak for the whole audience when we say we're very proud of you for the fact that you're continuing to do this and you feel so strong about it. Abhinash, I also have a personal question for you as well. Tusi ek medical student han, te Sikhi sanu sikhaundi hai sarbat da bhala, the welfare of all. I'm curious to know, how do you see this principle reflected between activism and the medical field?
Yeah, so that's a great question because it really made me think about healthcare beyond just the treatment of disease, which I think is very often how people see it. But I learned a very interesting fact recently. I was talking to my dad about it this morning while we were in the car. But in the UK, a couple of decades ago, there was actually a report called the Black Report, and it studied the National Health Service within the UK. And what this report actually found was that universal health care, as wonderful as it is actually not the greatest significant factor in treating health. So the question became, what's the bigger factor then? And they found through empirical knowledge that it's actually social factors that have the most influence on our health. So when you have a people that is marginalized, when you have a people that is disempowered, it actually leads to everyday stressors, everyday social factors that are creating this burden of disease and burden of illness. So then the work becomes not just treating disease, that's a symptom of the real issue here, which is the oppression that people are facing. So for me, even within the healthcare, the activism is beyond just the everyday practical, but that the personal is political. Every single thing we do, the advocacy that we do, has to be beyond the self, and that's what Sarbat da Bhala is, beyond the self, the welfare of all. So the solution then becomes, let's empower the people around us. Those who don't have a voice, they do. They have agency. Bring them to the table. Give them a seat at the table and ask them, what do you need? How can we help you? Empower those, and that's how you change the field of healthcare itself, which was very mind-blowing to me. But it made sense because the systems that we're currently sitting in come from systems of oppression as well. So it really asks us, let's reflect on the way that we're within these systems. How are we even getting these economic opportunities? Is it through exploitation of laborers? Is it through profit for ourselves versus the marginalized? So it really asks us to go deeper and go beyond the self when we think of Sarbat da Bhala. It's not just charity. It's making systemic changes in order to influence a whole population's health. And the relationship becomes even more interesting because our individual health is linked to the overall. When you have one person that's disempowered, it affects the well-being of the whole society. So we are all interconnected, and we are all interdependent. And before these couple of decades, Guru Nanak Sahib gave us that message already in the 1500s. So it really asks us to go to the community level and work with each other, build transnational partnerships. So right now, we all heard about the flooding in Punjab, right? But the question is, what do they need? What are the resources that they want? How can we help them? Not like, what can we do for them? We have to start opening up dialogues with those communities in order to help them. That's what community participatory research projects are all about. It's not just about the self, but it's about those that are disempowered and how can we empower them again to have that level of influence where they're creating change within communities. Because I can go to Punjab, I can do a couple of days of work, but if I go and transfer skill knowledge, if I go and give them the supplies that are needed, if I give them the manpower that's needed, that creates a very different level of change that's continuous and not just a short deliverable period. So even the ways in which we are creating change are being challenged, and the ways in which we are delivering change are being questioned. And it's asking us to step beyond what our way of thinking currently within Western society is. But let's think, what was Guru Nanak Sahib's thinking? How did he create Kartarpur Sahib within a place where there was so much oppression surrounding him? It's a question I always ask. How was he able to get a level of cooperative society that we still are struggling to figure out? And really it is about building communities. So I really ask, wherever you are, do the work within your communities. Find out your neighbor's name. Find out how they need help. That's Sarbat Bhalla.
Thank you so much. That was an amazing answer. And speaking of current events, thank you so much for mentioning the floods in Punjab, because that is something that we can use the morals of Sarbat Bhalla, which goes into my next question. As we know, these illegal cremations and unjust killings of Shaheed Jaswant Singh Khalra took place in 1990s. However, in 2023, we had another well-known activist, Shaheed Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who we know India assassinated outside of his local Gurdwara. For this question, I'm very curious on how each and every one of you felt during that moment. Was it relief that we had finally got coverage from Justin Trudeau, who was the Prime Minister of Canada at that time, who had globally announced credible sources linking to the Indian government? Was it anger that it took this long? Akash, I'm going to start off with you because you have come from Canada. So please tell us your emotions and what your community was going through at that time.
Funny enough, I still actually remember the day that I got a call from Bhai Maninder Singh saying that Baji was shot. I can't remember the exact time or what I was doing, but I knew where I was in the house. And immediately we got into the car, went to Guru Nanak Sikh Gurdwara, where it was taped off, the truck was taped off. And there was like a bit of a profound moment there that all the work that Baji has done, all the things that he's been through, everything surmounted very much kind of like to that moment. Kind of like what I was talking about with Bhai Jaswant Singh Ji in terms of yearning for Shaheedi. Bhai Hardeep Singh himself knew that what was going to come, and he embraced it fully. Not only in the way that he spoke, but the way that he operated, the way that he held himself. He knew Shaheedi was coming, and that wasn't something that he viewed with mayusi or any sort of interpretation of Dukh. It's something that he embraced just full head on. In terms of the second part of the question, the coverage, and I'll put this bluntly, my initial reaction and emotions to Baji Shaheedi being brought forward in Parliament and India being accused, it was, I think I was apathetic. It just didn't feel like anything to be proud or happy. Like there should be no tapi put onto Justin Trudeau for announcing this stuff in Parliament. Sikh Sangat have been talking about this transnational repression and foreign interference in Canada for 30 years. It was the Canadian government that froze Baji's bank accounts. It was the Canadian government that didn't allow him to fly. It was the Canadian government that gave him the duty to warn, saying that your life's in danger, do what you gotta do. So to hear it in Parliament, it was a moment of kind of like apatheticness that this is just, okay. But then that emotion effectively turned into what now? It's one thing to announce that, you know, India has been involved in the assassination of Bhai Hardeep Singh in Canada, but it's another thing to kind of like put your money where your mouth is and show what you're gonna do about it. And so what we've seen over the past 2 to 3 years is there's been ongoing investigations and police cases and lots of panel discussions and other forms of inquiries within the Canadian government, but the reality is no action has been taken against India. Even right now with the new change in government, even though it's a Liberal Party, Mark Carney has basically undone the last several years of work in terms of engagement with India, in terms of finding some sort of, whether that's remediation or some form of consequence. It's just nothing's been coming out of it. Right now, Modi came to the G7 in Canada, despite the fact that multiple Sikh organizations said he shouldn't be allowed. No tangible change has come out of the Indian government, or at least on the Canadian side, to see that justice is going to be served, if we even view it that much as justice. So Yeah, that's kind of like a long story short. It's just apatheticness towards what's happening. And really, it's just a message to the Nojawan that whatever justice we are going to see can never come from any sort of court, can never come from any sort of parliament, any sort of senate. It can never come from anything that isn't us. Anytime that we've seen justice within our Panth, it's been delivered by our own hands. Whether that's creating systems and institutions, whether that's Banda Singh Bahadur creating a new sort of agriculture system, all the way to the Panthak committee being established in Punjab, whether that's to Satwant Singh, Bhalla Singh administering justice to Indira Gandhi, whether that's Sukha Jinda administering justice to General Vaidya and Poon. Insaf is only going to come from this Panth. And it can never come anywhere else. And if we view that it comes from anywhere else, then we're admitting that there's something greater than us. If Maharaj has given us this bachan that we're supposed to uphold the idea that Gareeb di Rakhya, Jarwane di Pakya Karni, like that's on us. We are the ultimate justice. We are the ultimate truth. And in reality, we shouldn't put weight into systems and structures that claim that they're going to get administer us justice. We should provide it with our own hands, regardless of what medium that takes.
Thank you so much. And actually, that's a perfect segue because I wanted to ask this question between you and Basant. If you feel like we cannot get insaf with the Indian government right now, thanu ki lagda si ki kariye as Sikhs to receive that insaf with the Indian government and just Sikhs in general? We could start off with Akash first, bouncing off his question.
I was going to toss it to Basant. No, you'll never see justice from India. You'll never see justice from any structure that they produce, any inquiry, anything that they put together. There is going to be no form of justice because that requires India to see Sikhs not only as equal stakeholders, but as equal human beings. And that's just not the way that India is structured, not only from the time of partition, but especially to today's day and age. Justice will never come from India, and I guess the point really there to make is Jaswant Singh Khalra also never viewed justice coming from India. Despite the fact that on the outer appearance, while it feels that Jaswant Singh went to these courts to attain some sort of justice from the Indian judicial system, what Jaswant Singh was actually doing was creating a basis and a foundation for us as a Panth to have irrefutable truth, so that no one in a dunyavi sense could go to us and say, maybe you guys are right, maybe you guys are wrong, maybe your numbers are accurate, maybe they're not. Jaswant Singh came, got the hard numbers, the hard information, so that we could stand in front of anywhere in the UN, Congress, Parliament, and unequivocally say, this is what happened to us. But Jaswant Singh wasn't going to these courts to try and get justice. He was trying to uphold our honor, uphold the star that's been placed upon our head by our Guru. And then I'll pass it to Basant for any other thoughts.
No, I think Akash Bhaji worded it pretty perfectly. Just aside than that, it's like he's absolutely right. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਤੋਂ ਹਜੇ ਵੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਉਹ ਜਸਟਿਸ ਦੇਣਗੇ, ਫਿਰ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਨਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਆ. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਰੱਖਣਾ, ਇੱਥੇ ਰੱਖਣਾ. You're always going to be persecuted. You shouldn't expect any justice from the government of Hindustan. Baki though, as Bhaji was talking about, Kasa is Khud Khuda. We've always administered our own justice. So expecting justice from another system just has not been the way of the Khalsa. We've always given justice to others and given justice to our Apne Sikhs. So yeah, that's where I stand.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. And Tej, I'm going to ask you a personal question as well. As I mentioned previously, with Sikh leadership and its responsibilities, you are a legislative aide to Congressman Tom Swozy, who is a U.S. representative for New York's 3rd Congressional District, which is incredible. Congratulations to you. So you see a mix of American politics and you carry Sikh values with you. My question to you is, how do you believe Shaheed Jaswant Singh Khalra's work correlates to the American beliefs and morals?
So one thing I want to say to all the youth here is, if you really want to understand Khalraji's values in light of United States values and democracy, you should definitely read. Khalraji published an amazing pamphlet, and I'm surprised that a lot of our youth have not read it, but it's called Rajniti Te Dharam Da Rishta. And in it, Khalra ji gives his ideas about democracy, where he says that democracy is not just what happens in the ballot box, but democracy is when people, a group, have a right to exist, a right to breathe free, and a right to govern themselves. In those ways, when we look at the values of our founding fathers, and even if we go back to before Shaheed Khalra ji, and if we look at Shaheed Khalra ji's grandparents on both sides, we look at Baba Har Naam Singh ji, who was on the Kamagata Maru and was one of the 5 chief leaders on the Kamagata Maru, and we look at their struggle with the Gadri Babe. And Americans and Sikhs, on one hand, they had the same oppressor. Because during that time, Canada was under colonial rule, so the Sikhs fought against England, the same England that Americans fought against, and our country was born, the values of religious freedom, the values of liberty. But at the same time, we cannot tie these values in a box, because at the end of the day, if we look at the two systems, the systems that are most at tug of war in this day and age, you have the capitalists and then you have the communism or socialism on one side. And when you look at Guru Granth Sahib and the philosophy of Guru Granth Sahib, it has the best of both and goes above both. Because when you look at socialism and communism, people say when you take away competition, no one wants to work anymore. But Sikhi gave us the concept of kirt karna, udam karna, to always work hard and spend your life struggling. And then if you look at capitalism, there's no compassion in it for those who are vulnerable. But Gurbani teaches us that we should always treat everyone as equal. The equality of communism, the langar, the vand shakna, the fact that no one should go hungry, the concept we have in Gurbani of Halimi Raj. So Jaswant Singh Khalra ji believed in the best of what the United States had to offer. But if we look at the heart of his philosophy and the heart of Sikh governance, whether it's a justice system, whether it's ways and means, we look at Gurbani, the basic floor is that everyone should have everything, but at the same time we have the concept that people should work hard, they should have values, and that is something that I recommend everyone reads to understand more about. Rajniti te Dharam da Rishta. And as an American, I feel so proud that the religious freedom as a Sikh that Americans talk about, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji is the height of that. The type of society that America talks about, America might be living by aspects of the book, but Sikhi and our gurus wrote the book, and Shaheed Jaswant Singh Khalra ji followed that book.
Thank you so much. So to wrap up our panel, my final question for everybody is, how do we prevent the stories of activists such as Shaheed Jaswant Singh Khalra from being forgotten or even rewritten? Dohara, we'll start with you first.
We prevent it by owning the narrative. States will always try to rewrite history. That is their way of surviving. But Sikhi itself is an oral tradition. From the start, with our Gurbani, we've always survived by telling stories in our own voices. That means we need to document with the same rigor that Jaswant Singh Khalra showed, gathering evidence, publishing in ways that cannot be erased. But it also means carrying these stories into arts, classrooms, social media, and daily conversations. And most importantly, we keep these stories alive by strengthening the values of Sikhi. Jaswant Singh Khalra isn't just a martyr to be remembered. He's a method to be protected. Fearless research, compassion-driven, justice, and refusal to look away. That's how we ensure he is never forgotten and stories like these are never forgotten.
Thank you so much, Dohara. Basant, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I feel like going off of what Dohara was saying, but just going into it, it's like, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਸਮਾਗਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, that's one way ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਦੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਭੁੱਲਦੇ ਨਹੀਂਗੇ, ਪਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਥ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਨੇ ਕੁ ਬੇਅੰਤ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਆ, it's like everyone has a story. And ਹਰੇਕ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਤੋਂ you can learn and go on that path. ਸਾਡਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਤੋਂ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੀ ਆਹੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਖੰਡੇ ਦੀ ਧਾਰ ਤੇ ਹੀ ਆ, you know, so it's like learning from Baba Deep Singh Ji where he's fighting without his head but he's holding it on his palm. So there's a lot to learn from our shaheeds, just remembering them, but I feel like not just remembering them but learning from their lives and applying it to our lives, that's more important.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because the Sikh religion is such a rich religion that we just don't have one person that we can look up to Shahidi. We have different figures to look up to. So thank you so much for mentioning that. Tej, your thoughts?
Sure, and before I give my thoughts, I just want to say that this is an incredible question, because the first thing that most people don't recognize, and that I have to really compliment the moderators for recognizing, is that most people don't see the danger that we are in, the danger that Sikhi is in. And when we look at Khalra Ji and we look at our other shaheeds, and one thing that our generation needs to really understand is that no one ever wanted to kill Sikhs. Jahangir did not want to execute Guru Arjan Dev Ji from the beginning. Jahangir wanted to kill Sikhi, the Sikhi inside Guru Arjan Dev Ji. Aurangzeb did not want to execute the Sabzade. They wanted the Sabzade to live. They tried everything to make Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji live and the Sabzade to live. They wanted the Sikhi inside them to die. And the same way, the Indian government did not want to execute Jaswant Singh Khalra Ji. They wanted Jaswant Singh Khalra Ji to live. But they wanted Jaswant Singh Khalra Ji, the politicians at that time, to live as a slave, to preach whatever government it is, the Indian government, the Mughal government. No one wants to kill Sikhs, but everyone wants to kill Sikhi. And sometimes we get so preoccupied on what's happening on the outside that we don't realize that we've only been in the United States, most of us. Some Sikhs came earlier, but the average family, we can say, even on the higher end, 70 years. And in 70 years, you have grandparents who are connected, but they're not as connected to Sikhi as the elders. And then you have grandchildren who forget Punjabi. You forget Punjabi, you can't communicate with Guru Granth Sahib, everything is lost. Then you have kids who don't know the stories of our shaheeds. And if you think about us, what are our grandchildren going to be? And then what are their children going to be? Sikhi in the United States, we are forgetting with rapid speed, and it's up to the youth to stay connected to Guru Granth Sahib. So you really highlighted the danger. And we have to wake up. Our youth have to wake up. We have to see what a gift Sikhi is. Our parents have to wake up. And instead of thinking about the petty things, Sikhs have a mission to make this world better. But most of us can't even rise above our own families and the politics of our families. Then you have the politics of communities. And they're getting disconnected. Khalra Ji talked a lot about the organization of a Gurdwara Sahib and how that's important to Sikhi spreading. And Khalra Ji said that if you focus only on Sikhs and you win, but Sikhi dies, so if Sikhs win and Sikhi dies, then Sikhs and Sikhi have both died. This is a quote from Khalra Ji. So I think it's important that we reignite this within us, we learn, and we really go back to our sources. We are the luckiest people alive because our religious scripture was actually written by the founders of our religion. Guru Granth Sahib is where the buck stops. But unfortunately, we live in a world where the average Sikh does not even know what Guru Granth Sahib Ji says. From all of our rituals, we are losing our identity. You look from the birth of a Sikh to the death of a Sikh. Gurbani guides it, but at the birth of the Sikh, we're following the ways of the world. At the death of a Sikh, you go to any Indian funeral and everyone is saying, Afsos hoya, Afsos hoya. When Gurbani teaches us to live in God's will, and when even our traditions, we have a Nand Sahib at birth and death, Kara Prasad at birth and death. But unfortunately, we forget our uniqueness, and whatever society we live in, it's good you celebrate with society, of course, but if you lose that uniqueness, you lose your shahida, you lose your bravery. So that's one part. And the second part, when we talk about our shaheeds, we can't only talk about what happened. Because everyone knows what happens. Even 5-year-old Sikh kids know what happens sometimes. You tell them the Saki of the Sabzade, they say, okay, we know what happened. But we have to talk about the why. Why did it happen? Because the why was there back then, and the why is still there now. And unless we focus on the reasons, and unless we bring those Sakya into current day, we're going to lose the most valuable thing in the world.
Absolutely, and it's a great point that you pointed out as well. I'm going to just pick one little concept from that amazing speech, but if it's not us, then who? If it's not a Sikh mayor, then who will speak for us? If it's not a Sikh assemblyman, who is going to speak for us? So if it's not us, who will do it? And it takes us to make that first step. Also, we are very lucky enough to have our elders who lit up that lamp for us to carry that torch into Sikhi and into the community. So thank you so much, Tej. Akash?
Anji, I think the way to technically prevent any of this from falling into the annals of history is by embodying not only the culture but the mindset of all of our shaheeds and jujarus, whether that's Shaheed by Jaswant Singh Khalra, whether that's Shaheed by Hardeep Singh Nijjar, whether that's Shaheed by Ravinder Singh Jajana. All of our shaheeds at a fundamental level, the common denominator is their immense love for Guru Granth, Guru Panth, and the foundations of Gurmat that they all had. So I can go on a ramble for all the Nojwan about like what we should do and how we should do it, but the reality is it really just comes down to a few things. Take Amrit, do your Nitnem, be Shastrtari, and embody the culture of your shaheeds. Every shaheed that we have in our entire Panth, that is the fundamental principle to all of them. Bota Singh, Garja Singh, Sukha Matab Singh, Sukha Jinda, Satwant Singh, Bian Singh, all of them. If you read their writings, if you listen to their stories, the amount of love that they had for their guru and the Panth itself is really the driving factor. It's easy to pick up Hathiara, it's easy to say that we need to advocate for Sikh rights and stuff like that. It's a whole other thing to do so from a principled position, from a love for Gurbani, a love for Gurmat. And also, when we look at Jaswant Singh Khalra and we want to prevent the stories from fading into history, it comes down to each individual. Every single Nojwan here has to take the story of Bhai Jaswant Singh and push it forward, but push it forward unapologetically. Don't compromise on trying to identify who Bhai Jaswant Singh is. He's not just a human rights activist. He's not just a Sikh, or he's not just like a pacifist as he is tend to be portrayed, but he's a Surma, he's our Heed. He's a Singh that took upon an avenue of activism that no one else was doing, and put that forward as his main priority. So to look at his life, to embody what he believed in, to push forward his ideals and embody that in our day-to-day lives in terms of how we talk about it with our friends and family, the way that we talk about it with other people like Americans or Gore or Canadians, whoever it might be, just not watering down who he was and what he believed, and ensuring that his legacy lives on unapologetically is really the best way to prevent his history from fading away.
Thank you so much. I'm going to bounce off of what Akash said as well. I think it's also just very important for our Sikh community to just take the first step into Sikhi. Obviously, it's not easy to follow the morals and what Gurbani has written for us, but it takes one small step to build that habit and to get to where you need to be as a Sikh. Abhinash?
Yeah, it's a very loaded question, and I was just looking at the title of the book that was put on one of these panels, and it said Martyrdom. And I think that's essentially how we prevent it. Martyrdom, this idea of killing the self in order to attain liberation. Because essentially, that's what Jaswant Singh Khalra ji did. So then the question becomes, how do we become that? And that's through Shabad. It's through Shabad. When you die within the spirit of Barney, when you allow Barney to chisel you to perfection, that is killing the self in order to be reborn. That's a true Amrit. It's not just taking on the Barna, but also the Barney, the synergy between the Barney and the Barna, in order to create a new society, in order to attain Shahadat. It's not as simple as just doing the daily routine, but it's going beyond that to challenge the status quo. And I think I'm going to end with Jaswant Singh Khalra ji's last speech, because to me, every single time I hear it, I understand the beauty of his spirit. Because the way he ends is he talks about a candle, and where are the candles? Where that light? And we've been ignited by this candle before us. And so the beauty is that we need to embody that candle spirit. We are that tiny little diva that's creating that light to shine and challenge the darkness. So I say, when you go home today, think about, how are you that candle? How are you challenging that darkness?
Thank you guys so much for your time again. Please give it up for our panels one more time. Sat Sri Akal. So to commemorate you guys and to honor you guys for coming so far, we're going to honor you guys with the book, Shaheed Jaswant Singh Khalra, The Valiant, written by Gurmeet Kaur as well. Once again, thank you guys so much. This is the face and the representation of Sikh advocacy at such a young age. Thank you. You guys put on the chair.
Thank you once again to our incredible panelists for their time and for an amazing conversation. Now, I want to, ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਬਰਲਿੰਗਟਨ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਦਾ ਕਵੀਸ਼ਰ ਭਾਈ ਰਣਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਅੱਗੇ ਸਟੇਜ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਕਵਿਤਾ ਪੜ੍ਹਨਗੇ।
ਗਿੱਠ ਗਿੱਠ ਲਾਲੀਆਂ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀਆਂ ਚਿਹਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਪੰਨਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਦਾ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹਦਾ ਏ ਬੂਟਾ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦਾ ਲਾਇਆ ਦਸ਼ਮੇਸ਼ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਕੱਟੀਏ ਨਾਈ ਹੁੱਲਦਾ ਏ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਕੱਟੀਏ ਨਾਹੀ ਹੁੱਲਦਾ ਏ ਹਾਲ ਵਿੱਚ 71 ਪੰਥ ਦੇ ਜੁਝਾਰੂ ਯੋਧੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਪੰਥ ਦੀ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਜਨਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਮਾਰ ਕੇ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾਰਨੇ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਬੱਚੀਆਂ ਟੀਵੀ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਇਸ ਸਮੁੱਚੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਸਤ ਸੰਗੀ ਜਨੋ ਪੰਥ ਦੇ ਮਹਾਨ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਭਾਈ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੋਚ ਨੂੰ ਨਮਸਕਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਜੁੜੇ ਹਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਸਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ ਕਹਿ ਦਿਓ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਮੈਂ ਸਮੁੱਚੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੱਤ ਸਾਰ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਕਵਿਤਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਆਓ ਬੜੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਰਵਣ ਕਰੀਏ। ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਦੀ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਅਧਿਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਰਹੇ ਜੋ ਜੰਗ ਲੜਦੇ ਲਵਾਰਸ ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਾਰਿਸ ਕਹਾਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਜਬਰ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਦੀ ਅੱਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹੇ ਸੜਦੇ ਸਿਦਕੀ ਜਜ਼ਬੇ ਕੁਰਬਾਨੀ ਦੀ ਲੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਸਿਦਕੀ ਜਜ਼ਬੇ ਕੁਰਬਾਨੀ ਦੀ ਲੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਰਾਹ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਦਾ ਦੱਸਦੀ ਏ ਸੋਚ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਧਰਮੀ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੀ ਏ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੀ ਏ ਡੁੱਲਦਾ ਖੂਨ ਜਾਂ ਮਜ਼ਲੂਮ ਨਿਰਦੋਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਧਰਮ ਰਾਜੇ ਦਾ ਤਖਤ ਫਿਰ ਡੋਲਦਾ ਏ ਕੋਈ ਬਾਣ ਧਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਜਗਤ ਅੰਦਰ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਅਧਿਕਾਰਾਂ ਲਈ ਡਟ ਕੇ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਏ ਪਾਪ ਕੁਕਰਮ ਜੋ ਕੀਤੇ ਨੇ ਹਾਕਮਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੂਕ ਪਰਜਾ ਦੀ ਹੂਕ ਪਰਜਾ ਦੀ ਸੀਨੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਧੱਸਦੀ ਏ ਸੋਚ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੀ ਏ ਧਰਮੀ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੀ ਏ ਉਹ ਸੀ ਸੂਰਜ ਜੋ ਧੋਖੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੱਦਲਾਂ ਨੇ ਜ਼ੁਲਮੀ ਘਟਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਛੁਪਾ ਲਿਆ ਏ ਬੁੱਧੀਜੀਵੀ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਵਿਦਵਾਨ ਖੋਜੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਹਕੂਮਤਾਂ ਖਾ ਲਿਆ ਏ ਰਾਜ ਭਾਗ ਆਜ਼ਾਦੀ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਸਿੱਖ ਸੋਚੇ ਰਾਜ ਭਾਗ ਆਜ਼ਾਦੀ ਲਈ ਜੋ ਸਿੱਖ ਸੋਚੇ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਮਾਰਨੇ ਲਈ ਤੰਦ ਕੱਸਦੀ ਏ ਸੋਚ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਧਰਮੀ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੀ ਏ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੀ ਏ ਜੇਲਾਂ ਕੱਟੀਆਂ ਹੱਕ ਇਨਸਾਫ ਬਦਲੇ ਹਰ ਮਸਲੇ ਤੇ ਡਟ ਕੇ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਚੁਣੌਤੀਆਂ ਸੀ ਗੁੱਜੇ ਭੇਦ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਖੋਲਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਗੁੱਜੇ ਭੇਦ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਖੋਲਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਲੀਡਰ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ੀ ਨੇ ਲੜੀ ਜਾਣ ਸਿੱਖ ਲੀਡਰ ਤੇ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ੀ ਨੇ ਲੜੀ ਜਾਣ ਵੇਖ ਹਿੰਦਾ ਹਕੂਮਤ ਪਈ ਹੱਸਦੀ ਏ ਸੋਚ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਪਾਈ ਖਾਲੜੇ ਦੀ ਧਰਮੀ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੀ ਏ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੀ ਏ ਦੁਖੀ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੀਨੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੂਕ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਲੱਭਦਾ ਵਿਛੜੇ ਹੀਰੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੇ ਜੀ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਗੁਰਦਾਸਪੁਰ ਜ਼ਿਲ੍ਹਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਮ ਦਰਜ ਕੀਤੇ 25,000 ਦੇ ਜੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਹੋਇਆ ਹਾਨੀਕਾਰ ਹੋਇਆ ਜਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਹਿੰਦਾ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਹੁਣ ਨੱਸਦੀ ਏ ਸੋਚ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਧਰਮੀ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੀ ਏ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੀ ਏ 6 ਸਤੰਬਰ 1995 ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਾਲਮ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਕਹਿਰੇ ਗੁਜ਼ਾਰਿਆ ਏ ਨੀਤੀਵਾਨ ਗੁਰੀਲਾ ਜੰਗਜੂ ਜੋਧਾ ਧੋਖੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਿਰੋਧੀਆਂ ਮਾਰਿਆ ਏ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਨੇ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਬਣਿਆ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਚੋਂ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਬਣਿਆ ਤਵਾਰੀਖ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਦੱਸਦੀ ਏ ਤਵਾਰੀਖ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਦੱਸਦੀ ਏ ਸੋਚ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਧਰਮੀ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੀ ਏ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਦੀ ਏ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਕੁ ਬੇਨਤੀਆਂ ਕਰਦੀ ਖੇਮਾ ਦੇ ਜਾਚਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਬੰਧਕ ਸਾਹਿਬਾਨ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗਾਂ ਨੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਉਲੀਕਿਆ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਹਾਜ਼ਰੀ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਨ ਕਰਨ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਸ ਕਾਰਜ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੰਮੇ ਚਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਉਡੀਕ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਕੌਮ ਨੂੰ ਕੌਮੀ ਘਰ ਮਿਲੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਚਰਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
Our next speaker is a Sikh youth activist from New Jersey. Manroop Kaur, please make your way to the stage. Manroop is 18 years old and is currently a first-year biology student at Rowan University. High school ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਮਨਰੂਪ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਜੈਨੋਸਾਈਡ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਸਮਾਗਮ ਦਾ ਆਯੋਜਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਸਨੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਜੈਨੋਸਾਈਡ ਬਾਰੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਸਤਾਰ ਪ੍ਰੈਜੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤਾ. We asked Manroop to stay on stage after her speech. We thank her for taking the time to join us today. And now Manroop Kaur will share a few words about Jaswant Singh Khalra.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Today, September 6th, we are all here to commemorate and honor Bhai Jaswant Singh Khalra, who exactly 30 years ago from this date was kidnapped and killed by the Punjab police. The very man who uncovered the illegal disappearances and murders of over 25,000 people was himself ultimately met with weeks of torture and then brutally killed by that same government. Jaswant Singh Khalra was born on November 2nd, 1952, in the village of Khalra in Taran, Punjab. When taking a glimpse into his family's history, you can see that they had been standing up to injustice for generations. Bhai Jaswant Singh Khalra's ancestor was Sura Singh, who fought alongside Baba Banda Singh Bahadur in the Khalsa army. His great-grandfather, Arur Singh, was a member of the Singh Sabha movement. His grandfather, Harnam Singh, had been a passenger on the ship Guru Nanak Nam Jahaz that challenged Canada's harsh immigrant exclusion laws. From the beginning, Bhai Jaswant Singh Khalra showed a keen interest in combating social injustices. He actively took part in student activism in college and was even a student spokesperson for Punjab Student Union in Khalsa College. Not only that, but Bhai Jaswant Singh Khalra organized various protests against anti-police corruption and abuse of authority by the government. In 1981, Bhai Jaswant Singh Khalra married Bibi Paramjit Kaur and moved to Amritsar a couple years later. It's here that Bhai Jaswant Singh Khalra began working as a director for a bank. June 1984 marked a turning point in the life of Bhai Jaswant Singh Khalra and all Sikhs when the Indian Army attacked Harmandir Sahib. A couple months later, Indira Gandhi was assassinated in October of 1984, leading to the Sikh genocide, where thousands of Sikhs in Delhi and surrounding areas were murdered. To add on to this, the government and the police gave the police the power to detain anyone they suspected of militancy, resulting in many false arrests and disappearances.
Seeing that many of his friends and colleagues had gone missing, Bhai Jaswant Singh Khalra researched information which eventually led him to find files from the Municipal Corporation of Amritsar that had information containing the names, ages, and addresses of thousands of Sikhs who had been killed and illegally cremated by the Punjab police. At this point, Jaswant Singh Khalra had given up his job at the bank and committed himself fully to battling the turmoil in Punjab. Jaswant Singh Khalra joined the human rights wing of the Shiromani Akali Dal and became its general secretary. After investigating further cremation points and finding key witnesses, Jaswant Singh Khalra uncovered around 25,000 bodies of Punjabi youth that the police had taken and murdered under orders of the government. Along with that, he revealed the killings of 2,000 policemen who did not collaborate in these counter-terror operations. This information was taken to the Punjab and Haryana High Court, where it was mostly ignored. Knowing that no action would be taken in India, Bhai Jaswant Singh took his findings to an even bigger international stage, the Canadian Parliament. After he revealed his evidence and findings, many Canadian Sikhs urged him to stay in Canada so he could be out of harm's way. Jaswant Singh Khalra turned these offers down, asserting that he knew he might be killed, but he would see his work all the way through. A couple months after returning to Punjab, on September 6th, Jaswant Singh Khalra was forcefully taken by the police while cleaning his car outside his home in Amritsar. He was tortured weeks before being shot to death and dumped in a river. Despite all the warnings and threats from the government and police, Bhai Jaswant Singh refused to back down in the face of death, becoming an honored Shaheed in this month. It's our job to make sure we never forget the sacrifices made by these honored Shaheeds. By forgetting this history, we are allowing them to disappear again. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sat Shri Akal.
Our next speaker, Kushalpal Singh Mann, please come to the stage. Kushalpal Singh Mann is joining us all the way from Punjab as a mechanical engineering graduate with a master's in rotodynamics from Punjab University in Chandigarh. He is also the General Secretary of Shiromani Akali Dal Amritsar. Sardar Mann ਇੱਕ ਸਿੱਖ ਐਕਟਿਵਿਸਟ ਹਨ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਅਤੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਸਲਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਟੈਲੀਵਿਜ਼ਨ ਚੈਨਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਡਿਬੇਟ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ. His daughter, Dohera Kaur Mann, joined us earlier as our youngest panelist from Texas. Now, I ask the audience's undivided attention for Kushalpal Singh Mann to talk about Jaswant Singh Khalra for a few minutes.
Guru Roop, Guru Khalsa, Gurudev Patsha, ਦੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਅਰਜ਼ ਕਰਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਨ ਕਰਿਓ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੁਕਮ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਜ਼ਬਾਨ 'ਚ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਨਾਲ ਮੁਖਾਤਬ ਹੋਵਾਂ ਉਮੀਦ ਕਰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਮਝ ਜਾਓਗੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਬਹੁਤ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਇੱਥੇ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋ ਕੇ और मैं खास करके ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਰ ਬੂਟਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਈ ਦੇ ਪਾਤਰ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਭਾਈ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਪੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਸਵਾਲ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੀ ਜਾਏਗੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਸਮਝ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਉਹ ਸਵਾਲ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਵਿਖਾਤਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਣ ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਕਦੀ ਮੁੱਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੀ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦਾ ਅੱਖਰ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਮੈਮਰੋਸਾਈਡ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਜੈਨੋਸਾਈਡ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਸਲ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਮੈਮੋਰੀਸਾਈਡ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਯਾਦਾਸ਼ਤ ਖਤਮ ਕਰ ਦੇਣੀ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਯਾਦਾਸ਼ਤ 'ਚੋਂ ਇਹ ਮੁਕਾ ਦੇਣਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੌਣ ਹੋ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਨਾਤਾ ਤੋੜ ਦੇਣਾ। ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਸਟੇਟ ਹੈ, ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਹਕੂਮਤ ਥੱਲੇ ਰਹੀ, ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਹੋਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਹਿੰਦੂਤਵ ਹਕੂਮਤ ਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਹੈ, ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਸਟੇਟ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦਾ ਮੈਮੋਰੀਸਾਈਡ ਦੀ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਪੌਣੇ 200 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ ਹਕੂਮਤ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਫਾਰਸੀ ਜ਼ਬਾਨ ਦੀ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿ ਸਿੱਖ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਦੀ, ਲਾਹੌਰ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਟੇਟ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਸੀਗੀ ਉਹ ਫਾਰਸੀ ਜ਼ਬਾਨ ਸੀ। ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹਿਡਨ ਏਜੰਡਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦਾ, ਉਹ ਇਹ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ 10ਵੇਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਦੀਆਂ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗਸ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਫਾਰਸੀ ਜ਼ਬਾਨ 'ਚ ਨੇ। ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੀਰੀ ਦੀ ਸਿਆਸਤ ਹੈ, ਉਹ 10ਵੇਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਫਾਰਸੀ ਜ਼ਬਾਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗਸ ਹੈ, ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਫਰਨਾਮਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਲੜਨ ਦਾ ਜਜ਼ਬਾ ਹੈ, ਇਨਸਾਫ ਨਾ ਇਨਸਾਫੀ ਨਾ ਬਰਦਾਸ਼ਤ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਜਜ਼ਬਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਫਲਸਫਾ ਫਾਰਸੀ ਜ਼ਬਾਨ 'ਚ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਕਿਹਾ ਚੂੰ ਕਰ ਰਜ਼ ਹਮਾ ਹੀਲ ਤੇ ਦਰ ਗੁਜ਼ਰਤ ਹਲਾਲ ਲਸਤ ਬਰਦਨ ਬਾਸ਼ਮਸ਼ੀਰ ਦਸਤ। ਸੋ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਹਕੂਮਤ ਹੈ, ਉੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਭੁਲੇਖੇ ਕੱਢ ਦਈਏ ਭਈ BJP ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਕਾਂਗਰਸ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਉਹ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਸਟੇਟ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਮੂਵ ਔਨ, ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦਾ ਅੱਖਰ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਚਲੋ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਜੀ, ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਕਾਂਗਰਸ ਨੇ ਕਰਤਾ ਜੀ, ਮੂਵ ਔਨ ਕਰੋ, ਭੁੱਲ ਜਾਓ। ਉਸੇ ਕੋ ਮੈਮੋਰੀਸਾਈਡ ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਵਧਾਈ ਦੇ ਪਾਤਰ ਹੈ। ਮੇਰਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਦੁਨੀਆ 'ਚ ਇਹ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਈਵੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਯਾਦਾਸ਼ਤ 'ਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਨਸਲ ਨੇ ਨਿਭਾਇਆ ਹੈ। ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧਾਈ। ਦੂਸਰੀ ਅੱਜ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਟੇਜ ਤੇ, ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦਾ ਅੱਖਰ ਹੈ, ਅਮਰੀਕਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਹੈ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਯੂਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਮਾਰਜਨਲਾਈਜ਼ਡ। ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਮਾਰਜਨਲਾਈਜ਼ਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਹੈ ਅੱਜ ਉਹ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਸਟੇਟ ਜੋ 150 ਕਰੋੜ ਦੀ ਆਬਾਦੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੀ ਫੋਰਨ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ, ਉਹਦੀ ਜੀਓਪੋਲਿਟਿਕਸ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਕਟੇਟ ਸਿੱਖ ਪੋਲਿਟੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਉਹਨੂੰ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਪੰਥ ਡਿਕਟੇਟ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਇਸ 150 ਕਰੋੜ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹਕੂਮਤ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਕਿਸ ਮੁਲਕ ਨਾਲ ਕਿਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਹੋਣੇ ਨੇ। ਹੁਣੇ ਥੋੜੀ ਦੇਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਭਈ ਮੋਦੀ ਦਾ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਟ੍ਰਿਪ ਕੈਂਸਲ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ। ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪੋਲਿਟੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਡਿਕਟੇਟ ਕੀਤਾ। ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪੋਲਿਟੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਮੋਦੀ ਚੀਨ ਦੇ ਤੇ ਰੂਸ ਤੇ ਕੁੱਛੜ ਚੜਿਆ। ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪੋਲਿਟੀ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਸਟੇਟ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਸੰਦੂਰ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ, ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਸਟੇਟ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੇ ਮਿਜ਼ਾਈਲ ਮਾਰਨਗੇ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਕੀਤੀ ਰਾਜ ਭਵਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਗਵਰਨਰ ਵੀ ਸੀ, ਆਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਮਾਰਨਗੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹੋ ਬਟ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਟੇਟਮੈਂਟ ਇਹ ਦਿਓ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰਤਾਰਪੁਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੇ ਨਨਕਾਣਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਾਰਾਂਗੇ। ਬਹੁਤ ਤੜਫਿਆ ਗੁਲਾਬ ਚੰਦ ਕਟਾਰੀਆ ਗਵਰਨਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ। ਸੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਮਾਰਜਨਲਾਈਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਬਟ ਸਾਡੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਥੋੜੀ ਹੈ। ਜਦੋਂ 47 'ਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੂਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਉਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਰਗੂਮੈਂਟ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੀ ਭਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸੋ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਦਈਏ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਮੈਜੋਰਿਟੀ 'ਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਸ ਮੁਲਕ ਦਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੈਠੇ ਆ ਅੱਜ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਰੋਲ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਬੱਚੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਮਰੀਕਨ ਪੋਲਿਟਿਕਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਪੋਲਿਟੀ ਹੈ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਉੱਪਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਵੇ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਅੱਗੋਂ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ 'ਚ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਈਏ। ਇਸ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗ ਔਰ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤਾਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਵਰਤਮਾਨ ਸ਼ਹੀਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ, ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਕੰਟਰੀਬਿਊਟ ਕਰਨਗੀਆਂ। ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਨੇ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ, ਮੇਰਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਟਾਈਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ। ਸੋ ਬਾਕੀ ਮੈਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਹੜ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਇੱਕ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਅੱਜ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੇ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਸਟੇਟ ਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਹੜ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਰੂਪ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਉਦੇ ਜੋਗੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਵੀ ਡੋਂਟ ਨੀਡ ਯੂ। ਕੋਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਦੇਖੋ, ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਸਟੇਟਮੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਦੀ। ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਦੱਸਦਾ, ਮੈਂ ਡੇਲੀ ਬੇਸਿਸ ਤੇ ਕੰਟੈਕਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ, ਉੱਥੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਕਮੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਕੌਮ ਨੇ, ਪੰਥ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਲਈ ਸੈਲਫ ਸਫੀਸ਼ੀਐਂਟ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ। ਉੱਥੇ ਅਬੰਡੈਂਸ ਹੈ, ਭਰਮਾਰ ਹੈ ਹਰ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੀ। ਪਰ ਅੱਗੋਂ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਲੋੜ ਪੈ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਟੈਕਨੋਲੋਜੀ ਦੀ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਹੜ੍ਹ ਆ ਗਏ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਤਹਿ ਬਣ ਗਈ ਮਿੱਟੀ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰੁੜ ਕੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਨਾਲ ਆਈ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਰਿਮੂਵ ਕਰਕੇ ਐਗਰੀਕਲਚਰ ਲਈ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਤਿਆਰ ਕਰਨ 'ਚ 2-3 ਸਾਲ ਲੱਗ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ, 2-3 ਫਸਲਾਂ ਲੱਗ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੁਛ ਉਹ ਵਕਤ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਏਗਾ, ਮਹੀਨੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਆਵੇ, 2 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਆਵੇ, ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਆਪਾਂ ਟੈਕਨੋਲੋਜੀ ਨਾਲ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਸਕੀਏ, ਉਹਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਪੈਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਉਦੋਂ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਵੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਉਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਹਕੂਮਤ ਦੀਆਂ ਅਦਾਰੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤੇ ਫੋਰਥਕਮਿੰਗ ਨਾ ਹੋਣ। ਇਹੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨ ਨੂੰ ਔਰ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸੀਏ ਦੈਟ ਵੀ ਆਰ ਸੈਲਫ ਸਫੀਸ਼ੀਐਂਟ। ਇਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਸੋਵਰੈਨਿਟੀ ਲਈ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਸਟੈਪ ਹੋਏਗਾ। ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਕੀ ਬੇਨਤੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਨ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
Joining us all the way from New York, our next speaker, Dr. Amarjit Singh Ji, is a spokesman for Khalistan Affairs Center, the creator of TV 84, and a Sikh leader. Dr. Sahib ne sari jindagi Khalsa Panth lai la diti. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪੋਪੂਲਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ TV 84 ਤੇ ਸੱਚੋ ਸੱਚ ਅਕਸਾਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਜਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਭਰ ਦਾ ਗਿਆਨ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਹੈ। We thank him and the network of TV 84 for letting us broadcast our event through this channel. I ask Dr. Amarjit Singh to join the stage and speak about Jaswant Singh Khalra for a few minutes.
बल होआ बंधन छुटै सब किछ होत उपाय, नानक सब किछ तुमरे हाथ में तुम ही होत सहाय। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। 6 सितंबर दी सवेर तो शाम तक इस हाल विच जुड़ बैठ के ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਸਰਦਾਰ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ, ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਫਖਰ ਤੇ ਮਾਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਲਗਭਗ ਤੀਸਰੀ ਜਨਰੇਸ਼ਨ, ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੂਨ 84 ਦੇ ਹਵਾਲੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵਾਗਡੋਰ ਸੰਭਾਲੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਅੰਦਾਜ਼ ਜਿਸ ਢੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਉਲੀਕਿਆ ਗਿਆ, ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ, ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਵੀ, ਸਾਡੀ ਜਨਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਇਸ 'ਚੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਕਿ ਯੂਨਿਟੀ ਜਾਂ ਯੂਨੀਫਾਈਂਗ ਹਿਊਮੈਨਿਟੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਇਸ NGO ਦਾ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨੇ ਰੱਖਿਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਘੱਟੋ ਘੱਟ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਥ ਦੇ ਅੱਡ-ਅੱਡ ਗਰੁੱਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਛੱਤ ਥੱਲੇ ਇਕੱਠਾ ਕੀਤਾ, ਔਰ ਇਹ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੁੱਲ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਭਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਚੈਨਲ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਲਾਈਵ, ਇਸ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਗਲੀ ਜਨਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਨੇ ਬੜੀ ਸੁਚੱਜਤਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਾਗਡੋਰ ਸੰਭਾਲ ਲਈ ਹੈ। ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਨਜ਼ਰਾਂ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਠੀਕ 30 ਵਰ੍ਹੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੀ ਵਾਕਿਆ, ਮਹੀਨਾ ਜੂਨ ਦਾ, ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ, ਡਿਕਸੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਸਟੇਜ, ਅਣਖੀਲਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ TV ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦਾ ਸਾਲਾਨਾ ਸਮਾਗਮ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਰਦਾਰ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਸ਼ਮੂਲੀਅਤ ਲਈ ਆਏ ਸਨ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਐਡਰੈਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਦੀਵਾਨ ਨੂੰ, ਮੈਂ ਬੈਠਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਪਿੱਠ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਹੱਥ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ ਸ਼ਲਾਘਾ ਦੇ ਅਲਫਾਜ਼ ਕਹੇ, ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਪੀਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਡਿਕਸੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਤੋਂ ਕੀਤੀ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੱਕ ਹਿਸਟੋਰੀਕਲ ਸਪੀਚ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵਿਸ਼ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਕੌਮ ਨੂੰ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਅੱਡ-ਅੱਡ ਚੈਨਲਾਂ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਲਗਾਤਾਰਤਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਹੋ। ਔਰ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਬਿਗਨਿੰਗ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਅਲਫਾਜ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਲਘੂ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਹੈ, ਸ਼ਾਰਟ ਸਟੋਰੀ, ਕਿ ਹਨੇਰਾ, 4 ਚੁਫੇਰੇ ਹਨੇਰਾ ਪਸਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ, ਹਨੇਰੇ ਦਾ ਪਸਰਨਾ ਇੱਕ ਖੌਫ ਪੈਦਾ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ, ਤੇ ਹਨੇਰੇ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਫਿਰ ਅਚਾਨਕ ਦੂਰ ਇੱਕ ਝੁੱਗੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਦੀਵਾ ਬਲਿਆ, ਹਨੇਰੇ ਨੂੰ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਹੋਇਆ, ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੀਵੇ ਟਿਮਟਿਮਾਉਣ ਲੱਗੇ, ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਅਣਖੀਲਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਉਹ ਦੀਵਾ ਜਿਸ ਨੇ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਕੀਤਾ ਹਨੇਰੇ ਨੂੰ, ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਅਣਖੀਲੇ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ। ਔਰ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਅਲਫਾਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹੋ, 25,000 ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਾਤ, ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਅਣਪਛਾਤੀ ਲਾਸ਼ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਧਮਕੀ, ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਪ੍ਰੈਜੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ। ਇਸ ਇਕੱਠ 'ਚ ਬੈਠੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ 'ਚ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਯਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੱਤੀ ਤਵੀ ਤੇ ਬਹਿਣਾ, ਸਿਰ ਤੇ ਰੇਤ ਤੇ ਦੇਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਬਾਲਿਆ ਜਾਣਾ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ, ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੁਰਾਤਨ ਸੋਰਸ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਕਿਆ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਦਰਿਆਏ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋੜਿਓ? ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਸਰੀਰ ਨੂੰ ਰਾਵੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਲ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਹ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ। ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੁਝ ਇਤਿਹਾਸਕਾਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਇਸ਼ਨਾਨ ਦੀ ਇੱਛਾ ਆਈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਾ ਛਾਲਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ, ਹੋਰ ਨਹੀਂ। ਕਿਆ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਦਰਿਆਏ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋੜਿਓ? ਸ਼ਹੀਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਰਤਾਜ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਸੱਚ, ਹੱਕ, ਇਨਸਾਫ ਦੇ ਰਸਤੇ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਰਨਾ, ਉਸ ਦਾ ਅੰਜਾਮ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਵੀ ਹੋਏਗਾ। ਗੁਰੂ ਤੇਗ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਦੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਕੁ ਵਾਕਿਆ 6-7 ਹਜ਼ਾਰ ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਇਨਸਾਨੀ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ 'ਚੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੱਢ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਦੇਹ ਦਾ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਕਿਤੇ ਹੈ, ਸੀਸ ਦਾ ਸਤਿਕਾਰ ਕਿਤੇ ਹੈ। ਇੱਧਰ ਸੀਸਗੰਜ ਦਿੱਲੀ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਇੱਧਰ ਸੀਸਗੰਜ ਅਨੰਦਪੁਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਵਿਸਿਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਤੇਗ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਫਿਟ ਆਫ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਕਾਈਂਡ ਨੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਮੁੱਢਲੇ ਹੱਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ, ਇਹ ਬੇਸ਼ੱਕ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਤਵੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਹਿੰਦ ਦੀ ਚਾਦਰ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੁਰਬਾਨੀ ਨੂੰ ਘਟਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ, ਪਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੈਨਾਪਤੀ ਦਾ ਅਕਾਊਂਟ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਕਿ ਪ੍ਰਗਟ ਪਏ ਗੁਰੂ ਤੇਗ ਬਹਾਦਰ, ਸਗਲ ਸ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਟ ਪੈ ਢਾਪੀ ਚਾਦਰ, ਸਾਰੇ ਸ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਟੀ ਦੇ ਕੁੱਲ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਕਾਈਂਡ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਫਿਟ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਹੱਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਧਾਰਮਿਕ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਨੇ। ਜਨੇਊ ਪਾਉਣ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਪੰਡਿਤ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੱਥ ਫੜ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਪਾਂਡੇ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਜਨੇਊ ਪਾਉਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਣਾ। ਔਰੰਗਜ਼ੇਬ ਲਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ, ਗੁਰੂ ਤੇਗ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਔਰੰਗਜ਼ੇਬ ਦਾ ਹੱਥ ਫੜ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਬਰੀ ਲਾਉਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਣਾ। ਇਹ ਉਹ ਨੀਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਖੜੀ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ 5.5 ਸਦੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦੀ ਗਵਾਹੀ ਦਿੰਦਾ। ਬੇਸ਼ੱਕ ਦੌਰ ਘੱਲੂਘਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਆਏ ਪੁਰਾਤਨ ਵੇਲੇ ਵੀ, ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਨਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਨੇ ਜੂਨ 84, ਨਵੰਬਰ 84, 84 ਤੋਂ 94 ਤੱਕ ਅਣਪਛਾਤੀਆਂ ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਨਾਖਤ। ਔਰ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਰਹੇ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਹੈ ਸਰ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਦੀ ਬੇਟੀ ਨਵਕਿਰਨ ਕੌਰ ਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਤਕਰੀਰ ਸਟਾਕਟਨ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕੀਤੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਤੇ ਉਕਰੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਅਣਪਛਾਤੀਆਂ ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਛਾਣ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਹ ਖੁਦ ਵੀ ਅਣਪਛਾਤੀ ਲਾਸ਼ ਬਣ ਗਏ। ਹੁਣ ਇਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਛੋਟੀਆਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਟਰਗਲ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਔਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਚਰਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਮੰਗ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਉਸ ਸਪੀਚ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਨੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਬਰਦਸਤ ਪੈਨਲ ਸੀ ਯੰਗਸਟਰਸ ਦਾ, ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਰਸਾਇਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ, ਸਰਦਾਰ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਾਨ ਦੀ ਗ੍ਰੈਂਡ ਡਾਟਰ, ਨਵਕਿਰਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੇਜੀ ਬੱਚੀ ਬੈਂਸ ਦੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ, ਔਰ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਵਿਨਾਸ਼ ਕੌਰ ਭਾਈ ਰਜਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੀ ਬੇਟੀ, ਔਰ ਜ਼ਾਹਰ ਹੈ ਭਾਈ ਬੂਟਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਰੋੜ ਦੀਆਂ ਬੇਟੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਇੰਨਾ ਖੂਬਸੂਰਤ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਵੀ ਇਹੀ ਵਿਰਾਸਤ ਔਰ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਨਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜਾਂ ਹਰਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਿੱਜਰ ਦੇ ਘੜੇ ਹੋਏ, ਜਿਸ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ ਤਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਰਹਿਮਤ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਆਪਣੀ ਅਖੀਰਲੀ ਸਪੀਚ 'ਚ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਬਹੁਤ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਗੁਰਿਆਈ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ। ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕੋਲ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜਦੋਂ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ ਬਖਸ਼ਦੇ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਕਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਦੋ ਸ਼ਖਸੀਅਤਾਂ, ਹਰਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਿੱਜਰ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ 18 ਜੂਨ 2023 ਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਖੀਰਲੇ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਦੇਖੋਗੇ ਜਾਂ ਦੂਸਰੇ, ਉਹ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ ਮੰਗ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਦਾ ਅਰਬੀ ਮਾਨਾ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਅਰਥ ਹੈ ਗਵਾਹੀ। ਅਰਬੀ 'ਚੋਂ ਆਇਆ, ਇਸਲਾਮ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਸ ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਹੋਈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਆਪਣਾ ਕਾਨਸੈਪਟ ਹੈ। ਪਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਦੇ ਕਾਨਸੈਪਟ, ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੇ ਕਾਨਸੈਪਟ ਅਸੀਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਸਿੰਪਲ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਗਵਾਹੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਪੁਰਖ ਦੀ ਦਰਗਾਹ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਧਰਤੀ ਦੇ ਜਿਸ ਖਿੱਤੇ 'ਚੋਂ ਇਹ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਰੂਹ ਆਈ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਨਿਜ਼ਾਮ ਇੰਨਾ ਭ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਟਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਦਲੇ ਜਾਣ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਗਵਾਹੀ, ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਵਿਟਨੈਸ ਰੱਬ ਦੇ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਔਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੁਰਾਤਨ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ 'ਚੋਂ ਵੀ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਤਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਰਕਨ ਸਿਰ ਦੇ ਝੂਠਾ ਕਰਾਏ ਫਿਰ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਦੀ ਚਰਚਾ ਹੋਏ, ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਦਾਵਾ ਚਾਹੇ ਜੋਏ, ਕਿ ਸਾਡਾ ਕਲੇਮ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹਤ ਹੈ। ਹਮ ਰਾਖਤ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਦਾਵਾ ਜਾਂ ਇਤ ਕੋ ਜਾਂ ਅਗਲੋਂ ਪਾਵਾ, ਕਿ ਸਾਡਾ ਕਲੇਮ ਸੋਵਰਨਿਟੀ ਦਾ। ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿੱਤ ਗਏ ਇੱਥੇ ਰਾਜ ਭਾਗ ਸਥਾਪਿਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਜੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਮਿਲੀ ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਗੋਦ ਦੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਦਾਵਾ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਉਹ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਤਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਸਿਰ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਰਕਨ ਸਿਰ ਦੇ ਝੂਠਾ ਕਰਾਈਏ ਨਿਰੰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਦਰਬਾਰ 'ਚ, ਫਿਰ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਦੀ ਚਰਚਾ ਹੋਏ, ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਦਾਵਾ ਚਾਹੇ ਜੋਏ। ਸਰ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ ਅਖੀਰਲੀ, ਜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਝੂਠੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਮੁਕਾਬਲਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਔਰ ਜੇ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣਾ ਹੋਏ, 31 ਅਗਸਤ 1995 ਨੂੰ ਬੁੱਚੜ ਬੇਨਤੇ ਦਾ ਖਾਤਮਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਚੀਫ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਬਦਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਹਰਚਰਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਬਰਾੜ ਚੀਫ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਬਣਦਾ। ਜਿੱਦਣ 6 ਸਤੰਬਰ 1995 ਨੂੰ ਸਰ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਨੂੰ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਸਰ ਦੇ ਕਬੀਰ ਪਾਰਕ ਸਥਿਤ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ 'ਚੋਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਉਦੋਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਚੀਫ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਹਰਚਰਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਬਰਾੜ ਹੈ। ਪਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਦੇਖੋ ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਬਿਗਿਨਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦਿਖਾਈ ਗਈ ਕਿ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਕਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਨੇ। ਜਦੋਂ ਜਸਟਿਸ ਕੁਲਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਸੁਪਰੀਮ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਬੈਂਚ ਤੇ ਨੇ, ਉਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਕੇਸ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਮੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਇਟਸ ਵਰਸ ਦੈਨ ਦਾ ਜੈਨੋਸਾਈਡ। ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਬਣਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, कि जी वो करेगा पड़ताल। कमीशन की जुरिस्डिक्शन 10 साल की कर दी जाती है कि बियॉन्ड 10 ईयर्स पहला तुसी लटकते रहे 10 साल, इसका मतलब सी कि 84 तो 94 तक जो होया वो उहदे च नहीं है। फिर जो कंपनसेशन भी दिता जाता है उस चो पुलिस ऑफिसर्स के नाम कढ़ दिते जाते हैं तो एवरेज तुसी देखा जिन्ना दिता वो 3000 अमरीकन डॉलर, ये उन्होंने 2000 के करीब जिहड़ियां अणपछातियां लाशां की पछाण की कीमत पाई। सो सिस्टम च कुछ नहीं बदलिया है। जे उस जमाने दे विच 1988 दी जनरेशन साडे नाल है, आर्टिफिशियल फ्लड, वाटर एज ए वैपन, और जिन्होंने पता है कि भाई किवें सर्विंग मेजर जनरल भाखड़ा ब्यास मैनेजमेंट बोर्ड का जिस बाद सिंघा ने सजा याफ्ता किया और एग्रीकल्चर यूनिवर्सिटी लुधियाना के एक्सपर्ट्स की टीम ने कंक्लूड किया कि डेलीबरेटली फ्लड्स लियाते गए, वाटर एज ए वैपन इस्तेमाल किया गया। अज असी 88 तो ठीक 36 साल बाद वही जोड़ा पार्ट है दोबारा देख रहे हैं। और अज कॉमन बंदे भी तुसी पंजाब दे विच जो हड़ां दे विच हड़े हुए ने उन्होंने पुछो कहेंगे जी सरकार दा काम है, जां जिवें सर साहब ने कहा कि भाई किवें अज भी ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚੁੱਭਦਾ ਹੈ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੋਂਦਾ ਕੜਾਂਦਾ ਵਿਕਟਮਹੁੱਡ ਵਾਲਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਆਪ ਇਸ ਕਿਸਮ ਦਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਿਰਦਾਰ ਹੈ। ਪਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ 'ਚ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਰਨਲਿਸਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਾਹਰਲੇ ਗਏ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਵਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਜਾਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਕੀ ਹੈ, और जो देखते हैं कि सब कुछ हड़िया होया कुछ भी नहीं है तो उन्होंने पूछा जाता कि यह कहते चढ़ती कला। सो जिथे अज साडे लई भी यही सुनिया, पहली गल कि एक गल का ध्यान रहे कि कोई भी संघर्ष दे विच जिहड़ा आंदा है उस दे लई कोई एंड ऑफ डे नहीं हुंदा कि जी हुण असी थक गए हैं, हुण हार गए हैं, हुण असी बजुर्ग हो गए, हुण असी हमेशा रॉबर्ट फ्रॉस्ट दियां जिहड़ा अंग्रेजी का प्रोमिनेंट शायर होया ये लाइनां मैनूं इंस्पायर करदियां ने। द वुड्स आर लवली डार्क एंड डीप बट आई हैव प्रोमिसेस टू कीप एंड माइल्स टू गो बिफोर आई स्लीप। ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਰਸਤੇ ਨੂੰ ਚੁਣਦੇ ਹੋ, ਸਿੱਖ ਦਾ ਜੀਵਨ ਹੀ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਹੈ, ਸਿੱਖ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਦਾ ਨਾਂ ਹੈ, ਸਿੱਖ ਡਿਫਾਈਂਸ ਦਾ ਨਾਂ ਹੈ। ਰੂਹਾਨੀ ਪਰੰਪਰਾਵਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਐਗਜ਼ਿਸਟ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਸੀ, ਐਰੀਅਨ ਰਿਲੀਜਨ, ਸੈਮਿਟਿਕ ਰਿਲੀਜਨ, ਪ੍ਰੋਫਿਟਸ ਦਾ ਰਿਲੀਜਨ, ਵੇਦ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ, ਸਿਮਰਤੀਆਂ, ਔਰ ਮਿਡਲ ਈਸਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ 4 ਵੱਡੇ ਧਰਮ ਜ਼ੋਰੈਸਟਰੀਅਨਿਜ਼ਮ, ਕ੍ਰਿਸਚੀਅਨਿਟੀ, ਇਸਲਾਮ, ਜੂਡਿਜ਼ਮ। गुरु नानक पातशाह ने इस धरती पर आके पहलियां एग्जिस्टिंग ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ सच्चाइयां उन्होंने रिवील कीतियां अड अड प्रॉफिट्स ने, असीं सब का सत्कार करते हैं, पर गुरु नानक साहब ने सानू चैलेंज सिखाया। उस अहमदाबाद की धरती के उत्ते खलो के गुरु नानक पातशाह ने फरमाया जे सकता सकते को मारे तामन रोस ना हुई, सकता सीओ मारे पै वगे खसमे सा परसोई। ये ह्यूमन राइट को डिफाइन किया अहमदाबाद। सकता पावरफुल लोग कहते हैं, गुरु साहब कहते हैं जे 2 पावरफुल ड्यूल करते हैं, लड़ते हैं, एक डिग पैंदा है, नो रिग्रेट्स नो कंप्लेन्स। जे सकता सकते को मारे तामन रोस ना हुई, सकता सीहो मारे पै वगे खसमे सा परसोई। पर जे एक ताकतवर धिर आम जनता के उत्ते एक उन्हें जिवें कि एक बघियाड़ एक शेर जिहड़ा उस इजड़ के उत्ते पैंदा है, फिर उस दे मालक की जवाबदेही है। और इस ट्रूथ नूं ये ह्यूमन राइट्स की बेसिक डेफिनेशन है। और फिर इस ट्रूथ नूं कि सच की बाणी नानक आखे। और इस तो पहला एक गल का ध्यान रहे, ये भी गुरु नानक पातशाह ने याद दहानी करवाई कि जे चैलेंज होएगा तो जुल्म करने वाले ये राजे राणे 4 दिन के होंगे ने। बहुत वारी दियां इन्नियां इंटरप्रटेशन साडे विद्वान करते हैं। जो गुरु साहब ने कहा कि जी ये जदों मैं इस नगरी दे विच मासपुरी विच आख मसोला मैं मसला कह रहा है जिथे 4 चफेरे गंद है ह्यूमन फ्लैश दी अहमदाबाद दे अंदर। पर एक गल याद रखो, आन 78 है जान 97, होर भी उठसी मर्द का चेला, सच की बाणी नानक आखे, सच सुनाए सी सच की बेला। कि राजे राणे 4 दिनों के होंगे ने, आन जान वाले होंगे ने, और मैं ये हकीकत इस नगरी दे विच खलो के कह रहा, तो सच उदों बोलिया जाता है जां उदों बोलना बनता है जदों सच कहण दा वेल है। और पंजाब की धरती के उत्ते जिथे डिफाइंस है, जिथे चैलेंज है, बहुत बार खालिस्तान लफज नूं लैके जिन्होंने तकलीफ होंदी है, मैनूं याद है 1991-92 के पीरीयड च मैं सरी कैनेडा गया, उत्थे काफ़ी साबका नक्सलाइट सन, उन्होंने एक मीटिंग की, कह लगे कि जी असी भी सपोर्ट करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन जे तुसी खालिस्तान की थां देश पंजाब ते वो लफज करो। मैं क्या जी चलो तुहाडी गल सुन लई। मैं क्या कितनी पुरानी है पंजाब की सभ्यता, हड़प्पा दे नाल 5000 साल जोड़ दो, कहंदे जी हाँ। मैं क्या गुरु नानक पातशाह तो पहले 5 प्रोमिनेंट पंजाबियों के नाम दसो। मैं क्या चलो पोरस तो मैं कर दिंदा, हालांकि मैनूं हमेशा उस कहानी ते यकीन नहीं हुंदा, लेटर ऑन फिल्मी दुनिया ने चुप। तो मैं क्या जो इस धरती का खमीर गुरु नानक पातशाह ने आके बदलिया है, इस धरती के उत्ते आके उन्होंने चैलेंज दिता, उन्होंने तहजीब दी। 10 गुरु साहबान ने 2.5 सदियां एक कल्चर सिरजा, एक महज मजहब नहीं है, एक धर्म नहीं है, एक वे ऑफ वर्शिप नहीं है, एक तहजीब है जिसके कोल अपनी जबान है, जिसका इतिहास है, जिसके कोल इंस्टीट्यूशनस ने, संगत पंगत एवं नहीं 4 चफेरे दुनिया च लंगर लग रहे, ये वो तहजीब सिरजी हुई है। और वो सब तो उस तहजीब चों वो इंसान चिजल करके जिहदा भरोसा एक अकाल पुरख ते है, जिहड़ा मन करके बुद्धि करके उदा इंटैलैक्ट बुद्ध सो दीपक जो उजियार है, उदा इंटैलैक्ट शाइनिंग लाइक द कैंडल लाइट है, शरीरक तौर पर तंदुरुस्त है, उदे गात्रे कृपान है, वो अकाल पुरख दा सोल्जर बन के, अकाल पुरख की फौज दा सिपाह सलार बन के वो इस फर्ज नूं निभांदा है। खालसा सो जो निर्धन को पाले, खालसा सोए जो दुष्ट को गाले। इन्नी मुकम्मल आइडियोलॉजी। और ये बिल्कुल ठीक किया सी बिरची तेजी ने कि जिहड़ा उन्होंने खौफ है वो सिक्खी तो है। तुसी उत्थे 5 ककारां च रहो, सवेरे शाम कीर्तन करो, उन्होंने की प्रॉब्लम है? जिद्दन तुसी कहंदे हो कि भाई इस अकाल तख्त ते पहली वार भाई नत्थे ते अब्दुल्ले ने गावी सी कि उस 2 तलवारी बधियां पहलियां नहीं है, हुण बनना की है? ये जिहड़े अज सारा साध लाना और दूजा मीरी पीरी नूं सैपरेट करने ते लगे हुए ने, बनने का मतलब है इनसैपरेबल। राज जोग जिन माणियो, गुरु नानक पातशाह राजे भी ने, जोगी भी ने, तो भाई नत्था अब्दुल्ला कहते हैं उस 2 तलवारी बधियां, एक मीरी दी, एक पीरी दी, एक अजमत दी, एक राज दी, एक राखी करे वजीर दी, पग तेरी की जहांगीर दी। ये लाइन खिंची गई। एक पासे अकाल तख्त है, दिल्ली तख्त तो 2 फुट उच्चा, जिसका पहला हुक्मनामा वधिया जवानी, वधिया घोड़ा, वधिया शस्त्र, तो निर्धन को पालण का साडा फलसफा है। यही गल 20वीं सदी के महान सिख सन जरनैल सिंह जी खालसा पिंडरा वालियां ने जदों याद दहानी करवाई, असी शहीद लफज इसका सत्कार करते हैं, उन्होंने याद च मेले लगते हैं, समागम होंगे ने, ये भी मंग हो रही है कौमी शहीद ऐलानिया जाए। पर गल सिर्फ शहीद करवा लैन, शहीद के दिन को सैलीब्रेट करने तक नहीं है। संत पिंडा वालियां दे अल्फाज ने, खालसा जी शहीदां दे खून का हक लैना, तो शहीदां दे खून का हक अज दे कॉन्टैक्सट विच बड़ा क्लीयरली विदाउट एनी इफ एंड बट खालिस्तान की प्राप्ति नाल जुड़िया होया है। भाई गुरदास जी के अल्फाज, साडा राह दसेरा ने किस उद्यम ते राज मिले, शत्रु ते सब होवे मीता। ये यतन की कीते जान, की व्योंतबंदी होए, की स्ट्रैटजी होए, की कीता जाए कि असी पोलिटिकल सॉवरनिटी को हासिल करिए। जदों पोलिटिकल सॉवरनिटी आ जाती है, शत्रु मित्र बन जाते हैं। और यही जिहड़ा अज दा मैं समझदा, जिथे असी 30 वरे इस याद दे नाल गुजारे ने, सर जसवंत सिंह खालड़ा कितनी देर उन्हों का केस चलता रहा, इवेंचुअली जिवें ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਪਰਮਜੀਤ ਕੌਰ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਲਗਭਗ 2 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਭੋਗ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਭਾਈ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਆਈ ਵਿਟਨੈਸ ਅਕਾਊਂਟ ਵੀ ਆ ਗਏ ਔਰ ਇਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਪਾਰਟ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਸਕੂਲ ਲਾਇਬ੍ਰੇਰੀਆਂ ਸੈਲੀਬ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਫਰਕ ਸਿਰਫ ਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੋਈ ਦੋ ਰਾਵਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣੀਆਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਚੀਫ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦਾ ਮੁਖੀ ਇਹ ਸਭ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਅਲਟੀਮੇਟਲੀ ਰਾ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਇੰਟੈਲੀਜੈਂਸ ਏਜੰਸੀਆਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੂੰ ਰਨ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਇਹਦਾ ਲਕਬ ਵੀ ਸੂਬੇਦਾਰ ਵਾਂਗ ਜਾਂ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਮੁਗਲੀਆ ਦੌਰ ਵੇਲੇ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਇੱਕ ਯਕ ਲਖਤ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਸੋਲੀਡੈਰਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸੈਲੂਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਰ ਸਿਮਰਨਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਾਨ ਦਲ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਦੂਸਰੀਆਂ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ 'ਚ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੀਰੀਅਡ 'ਚ ਇਸ ਦੀਵੇ 'ਚ ਤੇਲ ਪਾਇਆ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਟਿਮਟਮਾਂਦਾ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਇਸ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਧਰਤੀ ਤੇ ਜਾਰੀ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਦਾਅਵਾ ਨਾ ਕਰੇ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਸ਼ਹੀਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਡੁੱਲਿਆ ਖੂਨ ਉਹਦੀ ਬਦੌਲਤ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦਾ ਐਕਟਿਵਿਜ਼ਮ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਅੱਡ-ਅੱਡ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਆਪੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਅੰਦਾਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਨਿਭਾਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਫਿਰ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਫਖਰ ਕਰਦਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਬੱਚੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਸ ਅੰਦਾਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਲਿਖਿਆ 2-3 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਦੀ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਹੈ ਬਟ ਮੈਟੀਕੂਲਸਲੀ ਪਲੈਨਡ ਮੈਂ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਬੈਠਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਾ ਪਿਆ ਬਾਥਰੂਮ ਹਿੱਲਣ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਮਨ ਕਰਦਾ ਔਰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਬੋਲਣ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਮੁਬਾਰਕ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਹੋਰ want to thank all of our speakers. We appreciate your time. ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ moment ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਹਾਂ to reflect and to just give thanks overall that today we did more than just host an event. Together we commemorated the sacrifice and eternal legacy of Shaheed Jaswant Singh Khalra, a Sikh who gave his voice, his courage, and eventually his life to defend the truth and human rights of Sikhs. As you leave this auditorium today, I ask you all to remember his message of justice, his commitment to the truth, and his fearless example of challenging the darkness. And I want to make it clear that an event like this does not happen on its own. First and foremost, ਅਸੀਂ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੋ ਅੱਜ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਏ ਚਾਹੇ ਸੰਗਤ ਸਾਡੀ ਲੋਕਲ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਤੋਂ ਜਾਂ ਦੂਰੋਂ ਸਫ਼ਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ Your attendance is what gives strength to this remembrance. Every speaker, every panelist, every person who listened, and every heart that carried the weight of Khalra Sahib's work today, this is how his legacy remains alive. ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਲੋਕਲ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ ਅਤੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਦਿਲੋਂ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਸਮਾਗਮ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਸੰਗਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਇਵੈਂਟ ਦਾ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰਿਆ ਅਤੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਸਹਾਰਾ ਬਣੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਧਾਰਮਿਕ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਲਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਹਨ ਉਹ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਹਰਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਮੀਰੀ ਪੀਰੀ ਦੇ ਸਿਧਾਂਤ ਵੀ ਹਨ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਸਿੱਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਬਰ ਤੇ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਦੀ ਵਿਰਾਸਤ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਉਂਦਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਰੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹ ਯੋਧੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੌਮ ਲਈ ਲੜਾਈ ਕੀਤੀ ਚਾਹੇ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਵੀ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਾ ਆਈ ਹੋਵੇ To the families, friends, and the volunteers, your efforts cannot be overlooked. From the planning to logistics and the most minor details behind the scenes, this event is a reflection of your seva. Whether you arranged transportation, prepared the gallery, set up the banners, or simply shared encouragement along the way, that all played a role in bringing us all together here today. Your support does not go unappreciated. And so thank you to Manjot and Prableen Kaur, Jasleen Kaur, Saj and Jind Kaur, and Sophia Rosenberg. We want to thank all of our incredible speakers and panelists. We appreciate you all being a part of this commemoration. Our local Mount Laurel Police Department and our RCBC team as well. We are immensely grateful in your help to create this event safely. Ehi sachi sangat lagdi hai. ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਆਪਣੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਯੋਗਦਾਨ ਪਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡੀ ਤੇ ਉੱਚੀ ਮੰਜ਼ਿਲ ਲਈ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਪੁਰਖ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਤੋਂ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਮੁਮਕਿਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿਰ ਝੁਕਾ ਕੇ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਮੌਕਾ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਣ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਸੱਚ ਤੇ ਇਨਸਾਫ ਦੇ ਰਸਤੇ ਦੀ ਯਾਦ ਦਿਲਾਉਣ ਦਾ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਕੌਮ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਦੇਣ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਅੱਗੇ ਵਧਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਹਿੰਮਤ ਅਤੇ ਤਾਕਤ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕਰੀਏ. And if there was any inconvenience to anyone today, we sincerely apologize for any wrongdoings. As we leave here today, let us carry his drive and morals with us. It is our duty to not let this be the end of remembrance, but the beginning of renewed action. We are at a point where talking is no longer enough, where we see the truth of the saying, action speaks louder than words. Action in activism, action in government. Khalra Sahib did not give his life so we could simply look back and talk about him. He gave his life so that we would look forward with courage to get involved, and most importantly, to do so with compassion. And just like Khalra Sahib stated, the Khalsa was inaugurated to protect the human rights of the world. And if you cannot protect your own human rights, you will not be able to give any definition of the Khalsa in this world. ਅੱਜ ਜੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਉਹ ਕੋਈ ਵੱਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ. ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਉਹੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਜੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬਾਨ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਿਖਾਇਆ ਹੈ. That as a Sikh, no matter what, to never be silent in the face of injustice, which is exactly what Khalra Sahib did. So once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to each and every one of you for being part of this commemoration. May Waheguru bless you and your families, and may the light of justice that Shaheed Jaswant Singh Khalra ignited continue to burn within us all. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Bole Sonehal. Bole Sonehal. Sri Akal. Bole Sonehal. Bole Sonehal. Bole Sonehal. वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह.